of self itself was not found. The objectification of the individual itself is the problem. So how do I reconcile the two? That was the question. But here Dipesh ji has already answered that in the sense that the contexts are a bit different here. Here it is basically a refutation of the so-called correctness of the conventional truth, vis-a-vis the ultimate truth, which is seen by the clear sight of people. So I think it's just a question of different context rather than anything else.
What that I truly agree, and also if you can also see it from the angle that in this verse what he is saying, so too you should understand the case to be so here. So what they are establishing is the Arya being's vision, that how it is correct. So in that, with respect to that, even imputation is a problem. In the ultimate there is no imputation. In the Arya being's vision there is no imputation. So even if you can take the example literally here, then when like the person who has the cataract sees the falling hair, okay, and then somebody who has a clear sight does not see, non-existence of falling hair is there. So does not see those falling hairs because the person has the clear sight. In the same way, when you see the ultimate reality, no imputation is there. Any imputation in the form of objectification, no means subject, object, everything dissolves. So with respect to that frame of reference, you can say, you can equate the example, you can see the example.
So just a clarification question. So here you reference the non-dual wisdom mind here.
Of the ultimate truth.
Ultimate. No, when you say that Arya means that imputation is also not there, that is a non-dual, that when he is in a non-dual equipoise.
Can I ask you more questions? Related to this verse. Oh. It is related to Kesha's class, previous class. But I don't know if it's related to this verse. Okay.
So,
my question is that I'm having difficulty in reconciling that on the one hand we say that existence and objective existence is mixed together for ordinary beings. So when we cognize something, the two are mixed. And then on the other hand, we are also positing a mind which cognizes its objects without qualifying them with objective existence or without objective existence. So does anybody have any, it's a very, like experientially, obviously since I have next to no experience in these matters, but does anyone see a difference? Experientially, are there any clues as to how for an ordinary person, by itself, if I have to theoretically accept that, you look at things unqualified, I can accept that. And at the same time, we do say that the existence and objective existence are mixed. So how is it that there is such a neutral state, that even when I'm seeing things unqualified, why the objective existence and existence is not mixed at that point?
I also had this question. So I just wanted to add that if this is the correct way of thinking, that for the unqualified, I kind of then relate it to a sort of, not a non-discerning direct perception, but something where I'm not giving that much attention. But that if I were to do so, then I would quickly be focusing on its objective existence. So I would also like an answer to this question. In terms of examples.
I didn't want to raise this in the beginning, but it just felt a little inauspicious. Every time I raise this issue about the kind of examples Acharya Chandrakirti uses, Geshe-la, in a way, to me personally, has kind of dismissed them by saying something. I just wanted to say something in my experience, my physical experience, I have had floaters coming before my eyes since childhood. Looking into the sky, I see the veins, floating around, and the bees are nodes of the veins, and if you hunt for them, they fly away. You see? So now the Arya vein, okay, they do exist actually. There's something in the gel at the back of the retina which projects itself before all the other images are outside, which we see. So actually, perhaps cataracts is a wrong translation, as Vishnu himself said. But in this case, supposing he had used instead pain. If somebody experiences pain, the Arya being can see that pain that the ordinary being is experiencing. And the Arya being, he or she can see the difficulty somebody is having with their sight due to this. It's called macular degeneration. I don't know what it's called. So I have a problem here that it's not just the translation. The Arya being what he or she is, can actually see or understand what that ordinary being is seeing or feeling. So I have this problem here all the time because of my own experience.
Can I just ask? I think here, Joyji, that is quibbling, like whatever we call it, it's not very important because frankly none of us are biologists or scientists or doctors or whatever. So in any case, the point here being that whatever the terminology of what is used, whether cataract or floater or this or that, it's basically, perceiving things that are non-existent. Now your point about Arya seeing other people's pain, I don't know, you're talking about clairvoyance.
Or the experience which they are seeing. They are actually seeing something, and by the way, it's not non-existence. Those are images shown by that part of the gel behind the retina.
Yeah, but with reference to normal sight. With reference to normal. See, for the example, we always have to see what are we using. So for Acharya Chandrakirti, I mean, in the point, like when Geshe also says English or any language doesn't matter, the key idea is the concept, right? So here we can use anything if it makes you, cataract, whatever. You can take some other example.
No, all I wanted to say is that it does exist. Truly for that person in that state of health.
No, but with respect, so that's the exactly objective existence exists for many people. So that's exactly the validity of the example. But with respect to those with normal sight, it does not. So that's the point of this example.
Pujala, you're the moderator, right?
Yes,
Just
Okay. Ready for Tejana?
So, but Joyji, may I add? Yeah. So, like through the force of cataracts, such distorted realities. So let's say through the force of self-grasping ignorance. Right now, let's say we are seeing this table. Okay? Or let's say you are seeing right now this, whatever, the bees or the floaters. Okay? And so when the Arya, not only Arya beings, it's in particular the three beings, the three Arhats they are talking about. So when the three Arhats, not just any Arya being, the three Arhats, when they, so let's say they also in their day-to-day life, let's say they also have this floater problem, okay? So they have the floater problem and they are also seeing this thing that you are seeing, the floaters. When they go into an ultimate analysis, not to find out does it exist or not, but like how does it exist? So when they go into ultimate analysis, they don't find anything. Not only how do they find out, because they don't find anything on the objective, in the objective domain. There's nothing there that they can pinpoint and say this is the floater, this is the bee. Nothing is seen. So they come back into the conventional analysis out of the non-dual meditative equipoise, and then again the floater reappears. But now they know that whatever is appearing, it's not there from the object side. It's dreamlike, it's a projection of their own mind. It's coming due to the cognitive obscurations, it's being projected. The object is appearing as if it exists from the object side. But they went looking, does it really exist from the object side? They didn't find anything on the objective domain.
Well, just supposing, I mean, this is really going too far, but just supposing the thing used was pain, an ordinary being suffering, having pain. Because Geshe-la has often said that some very high Lama meditators, when they are dying of cancer and should be having huge pain, actually don't feel that pain. And he says if you focus on it and do various meditations, there is no pain. The pain doesn't exist. So that's why I wonder.
So yes, the pain does not exist objectively. The floaters don't exist the pain is not there from the object side. And one who sees that, because we believe it is from the object side, and that we are just merely reacting to what is being presented to us. But when you see the reality of it, that it's literally like a projection. There's nothing there called pain from the pain. There's no such thing at all. Without your subjectively, your own ignorance triggering your contaminated karmas, which make you grasp at a totally non-existent phenomena and say that this is pain because of the self-grasping ignorance. I exist, pain exists, everything exists objectively. So whether you take pain, whether you take floaters, because here when it says, when you see distorted realities, and I think Dipeshla was explaining this, that in conventions, you can have valid conventions, you can have invalid conventions. Whether valid or invalid, from the ultimate point of view, both are equally deceptive. Whether the floater is a problem, whether the pain is happening only to a few people and it's not happening to others, whether it's an imaginary pain, like a ghost limb or a phantom limb, and you feel the pain, whether it is existent, imaginary or not imaginary from the point of view of the convention, whether you have real cancer or you have imaginary cancer, from the ultimate point of view, they're both equally imaginary.
Okay.
So, Georgie, what Tejilbhai is talking about is extremely subtle and ultimate, but I think we don't have to. I think that's your phone. In the back. Yeah, go ahead. You want to take the phone? We can switch the question to Tejilbhai's question, right? Now, mindfulness. What was the question? The question was. Can you just quickly repeat?
The question is. Question is that we, on the one hand, we say that whenever we see existence, ordinary beings.
So unqualified. Okay. Unqualified. How is that the objective existence and existence is not mixed, but actually we say it's mixed? Would that be correct way of saying your question? When we say it's unqualified, at that point.
I'm asking if experientially anyone has any clues to see the difference between when you see something unqualified and between saying that whenever I see existence, I see it mixed with objective existence. So I want some experiential clue to differentiate these two states of mind.
So whenever we are positing existence the way it is, it's always in the subsequent. You do not start with, you start it from an experiential point of view, right? Theoretically speaking, I'm saying, how do you go about it, right? Meditation on emptiness, 4 essentials, staircase to emptiness, whatever you want to use. There is an appearance of objective existence, or you don't even qualify. This is appearing like this, let's say, This is appearing from the object, and I'm going to investigate, and I'm not going to find it, right? So when we are meditating, not finding is the truth, whatever is appearing, right? Now, as we purify, in the subsequent, an Arya being will say, okay, this is how it exists. During the meditation, they will not do this, never. Meditative poison, so that's the first clue, that we should only focus on not finding it, the absence of what is appearing. Right? To be very technically correct, it's a non-affirming negative. You're not affirming anything or nothing. You're just saying it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Even like initially, like Geshe has said many times, that I'm quoting him again based on my memory, that we'll say objectively it doesn't exist. But in experience, then you can start saying it actually doesn't exist, because it's correct. You're employing ultimate analysis. You know, from ultimate analysis point of view, it doesn't exist. This question comes now, whether it's qualified, not qualified, objective mixed with subjective, existence mixed with objective, all combinations you can think of will come in the subsequent, post that, right? So, at least if we can say, oh, it's appearing objectively to me, this appears objectively, it doesn't exist the way it exists. It doesn't answer how will it appear. Your question tilts toward the fact that how will it appear if I think about it being existing subjectively, purely, or how will it appear if things are not qualified?
No. My question is, in the post-meditative state, when things appear, as long as I'm not a Buddha, the things will appear to me as objectively existent.
True.
But from the point of view of engagement, only from the point of view of engagement I'm asking, Lama Tsongkhapa is making a distinction that, forget the Arya being seeing things as illusory and engaging with them as illusion-like. Between the two possibilities available for ordinary beings, that I can engage with the object as if it exists objectively, or I can engage with the object as if it's unqualified with truth.
Yeah.
1 minute. So, is there any clue to experientially feel the difference between these two forms of cognition?
So first, before going to experiential, is everybody clear that what unqualified means? In that particular page 95, 96, there is nothing further given. There are 3 ways that can be posited. So I feel even ordinary beings, that's my take on it, unqualified. Ordinary, one way Kaveri said that if you're not even India Gate right now, if you're not thinking about it, it's unqualified. Objective knowledge, that's
Yeah,
one.
it has to be an object of engagement first.
Fine. But
it
if
cannot be a non-discerning.
I understand, it's not even non-discerning. I'm saying I'm not engaging with it. That's
No,
what
I'm asking the context that
I'm trying to put the context. For unqualified is one where we are not engaging. Your question is specific to engagement, right? I do understand your question. When we're discussing something and you're quoting Lama Tsongkhapa, I like to make it as comprehensive as possible. Number one, it's not clear there. That's my take. You read it again. What is unqualified? He doesn't give examples. We've discussed this, and in the class also it was not clarified. What does this unqualified mean? So I'm giving my take on it. One, you're not engaging. One, an ordinary being can engage with it and not say it's objective or subjective. There are so many people who come to the class and first time this question is it objective, subjective, there's a complete blank look. Right? So they're not even qualifying it whether it's objective, subjective. Although they engage in objective subject, but they're not qualifying it. There's no pervasion that if it's not qualified means that they're not objectifying. That's my take on it, okay? And then third could be the way you are trying to think about Arya being post-meditative, what is the clue? And my answer would be that the job is not to focus on subsequent. The job is to keep meditating on emptiness. That is the job. The subsequent, later on we'll learn in the commentary, one place Lama Tsongkhapa will ask, what do you mean by subsequent? Right? Subsequent means, one answer given is post-meditative. Lama Tsongkhapa says, no, it's not post-meditative. It is what is through the force of meditation. That's much more profound understanding. Through the force of meditative equipoise, subsequent comes into being. One is just not from a time perspective that I am holding the mic, I keep the mic down. Through my force of holding the mic, you know, it doesn't fit exactly, but through the force of the meditative equipoise, the subsequent comes into being. So when that comes into being, the experience will come into being. If you focus on the step 2 and not on step 1, then I think we're missing the point. And anything experiential, I'll go back to the same thing, that first we have to study. So in study, you need to be very clear that 3 scenarios I'm positing, you will come up with the 4th. Not engaging like an ordinary being, not qualifying. Now I can think of the 4th scenario. Engaging like Arya being, and back to personal liberation Arya being. Arya being Bodhisattva, because the realizations would be much profound, and a Buddha. So we can think of 5 scenarios of not qualifying. And does the 5th one Buddha qualify? Because for Buddha, everything would be properly qualified. So the 5th one doesn't apply. So I would say that we think comprehensively, and then, okay, this, then bring in the experience. If you bring in direct experience without the study and reflection, experience will not come. My personal take.
Nobody has further comments.
No. I have the next question.
Go back to
Joel's question. Yeah, I was saying something again. So there were 2 points, Joelji. One, I think you're getting stuck with the floaters because in your experience in childhood you had it. So nobody is saying here that they do not exist. Existence of floaters is not denied. So that should like make you a little comfortable. Geshe-la never said it, Acharya Chandrakirti is not saying it. I don't understand it like that, none of them understand it like that.
What I was saying is they do exist.
Yes, there's no denial about it.
There's a cause and it projects these things into the vision before you see everything else. Like now I may have it, but because I'm looking at these details here, I don't see them. But if I were to look at the sky, I would see them.
So nobody's denying that, right? So if you are seeing bees in the sky or whatever you want to call it, if none of us have the floaters, you cannot tell us that floaters exist or don't exist. From your vision perspective, they exist, and this is exactly the point. That your vision, if there is an issue at the retina or whatever, based on your vision, it exists. But that cannot be the barometer to decide whether it exists or not. That's it.
I get that.
Yep. And then secondly, on the pain thing, what I was saying when we had a short interruption, that what Tejalla was saying is very profound, right? That for in the ultimate, the pain is not there. So, but at our level, frankly, the pain is there. That is something that we should aspire for. That that okay, in the ultimate, the pain will not be there. True. But at the same time, if you remember one of the Buddhist psychology classes during question answer, there was one girl, she was having a back pain. She asked the same question, that I have a back pain, Geshe-la, can you please advise what can be done? So one of the advice given was, and then she meditates a lot, and she said that when I just watch the pain, like I have a pain in the knee and I watch it, just watch it, the pain reduces. Geshe-la, how do you explain this from Buddhist psychology? Right? So he did give an answer that when the pain happens, the subject and the object, they get fused together. When I start watching my knee pain as me as the subject and knee pain as the object, I am kind of segregating the object and subject. So that tends to reduce the pain, and this is scientifically documented by a lot of hospitals. They're using mindfulness meditations, and so they watch the brain waves and all that, and they conclusively, like from a science perspective, that the pain markers and the pain brain waves are reduced drastically, just subject object. But then what she's saying is the most profound thing, that even if we can go into the experience of emptiness, which I doubt if we are at a conceptual level, it will happen, maybe happen for a split second, but then the pain will come back. So if we use, point I'm saying is I'm bringing the practical aspects. If we have pain, and then I do not have experience of emptiness, and then I keep aspiring for it, that's one option. And if I don't have a profound experience of emptiness, but at least I can watch it like an object using mindfulness and my pain can reduce, I'd rather choose a practical option that I have right now to reduce the pain. And not like keep getting frustrated that, oh, I'm trying to meditate on emptiness, the pain doesn't reduce. That's the point I'm making. You choose what you have, and then within mindfulness you can have so many other kinds of mindfulness, you know. So it's a very practical question. Pain, we have to deal with our body, you know.
I just wanted to say two things, George. So number one, even I have cataract. So just to give you in solidarity, I actually have cataract, but I know that when I did not have cataract, what was the barometer? So now whether or not I see floaters, I have to use that as the frame of reference, you see. So that's the whole point here. And secondly, on this pain, Deveshra is right that once in Veer, Yeshila gave a meditation on pain. He did that in the entire class, and he said, of course not at the higher level beings, the reason they don't undergo pain is quite different, but for us, he did make this point about just watching where is the pain, deconstructing it, and then it really reduces while you're doing that exercise, and then of course when you come out of it, he said it might return, but then you know you can create that space and that ability to be. So a very practical.
So then my little question is, does that subjectively existent pain exist?
Yes.
It exists.
Yes.
Because if it didn't, then the whole approach to coming onto the path would be kind of weak.
So anybody who says if we were sitting in a Zen, sorry I interrupted, if we were sitting in a Zen center, maybe we would get a stick on our head. And that too very strongly from the master.
Real pain.
So, Joyanji, Acharya Chandrakirti here, you know, he says very clearly, we're not debating whether the pain exists or not. We're not bringing the vision of Arya beings or the three Arhats. Because the pain exists or not is something the conventional world should decide. How does it exist? For that, we are bringing in the three Arhats' vision. So your question, you know, does the floater exist or not? Does the pain exist or not? Acharya Chandrakirti or Prasangika or anybody, they're not denying the existence of that. They're saying yes, and they're saying, in fact, you don't even need ultimate analysis to come up with the answer to that. The conventional analysis is enough. It's when you ask, you know, okay, the pain that exists subjectively, does it exist or not? There's a kind of objectification. Does it exist or not? Does it exist where? You're asking, does subjectively pain exist or not? So this is the, yeah.
New question? Okay. Can I ask that mostly? New question. So, reference 389, page 57. Everybody there? So, the excellent quality of easily abandoning the views of permanence and annihilation, right? So, the view of permanence, abandoning the view of permanence and annihilation. So, if I take a view, everything, not everything, but at least the basis of everything is impermanent. Right? We did the middle way view in tenets in various schools, and this question was unanswered at that time, and Geshe-la threw the question and said discuss. So if I'm taking a view, or like Chittamatra, finally everything is other powered nature. Thoroughly established and imputed are also on basis of other powered nature. Other powered nature is impermanent. So if I say other powered nature is impermanent, I do not have view of permanence, and other powered nature continues. There is a continuity. It will never annihilate. Matter will convert into energy, energy matter, continuity of matter. Mind never annihilates, mind continues. So how is this view? This view is also free from the view of permanence and annihilation. Right? So how is this different than establishing emptiness of objective existence, which is also a view, which is also free from view of annihilation impermanence? Do you understand the question? Right? Prasangika's middle way, and probably this is Swatantrika's middle way. I'm not sure if the Bhashika's middle way, but at least Swatantrika's middle way, and I can even say Chittamatra's middle way to some extent, because they're basing everything on other power. Or even Swatantrika Madhyamika at a conventional level. To some extent. Not like you can counter like, oh, there's objective existence, blah blah blah. Yeah.
I think, Dipeshna, please tell me if I'm understanding correctly. You're basically saying that between the reference number 374 and 389, because in both there is a rejection of the two extremes, and in both cases we are saying you're free from the extreme of permanence and annihilation, and you're asking what is the difference between, or how can we posit a difference in these two rejections?
No, I'm just simply saying that when we say free from view of rejection and from permanence and annihilation, I'm just making a statement, that's it. If I take the view that other power nature are impermanent and everything is from other power nature, finally, basis is other power nature. I'm not saying impermanence per se, even I objectify. Impermanence per se objectify, but I'm saying it's impermanent. So I'm not positing permanence. And I'm not saying matter will annihilate. I'm not saying what is impermanent. There are two things I can posit. Mainly two things. Even non-associated compositional factors are on basis of mind and matter.
So what's the final question? So this is the
impermanence. If I take the view of impermanence for the final basis, it is free from the view of permanence and annihilation.
Correct.
So if the target is to be free from view of permanence and annihilation, why do I need to learn about emptiness? Impermanence should be sufficient.
Okay. So as Geshe-la pointed out in the last class, that when we say that we reject the true extremes, there are different levels at which we can understand the two extremes. So there can be gross levels and there can be subtle levels. So for example, the example of impermanence, in fact in the tenet systems, when we just start the basic introduction of the four schools, all four schools posit in one statement how they are free from the two extremes. And very rightly, as you said, Swatantrika exactly uses the example of a continuum and says we are free from the two extremes of permanence and nihilism, because the continuum continues, it does not annihilate, and it also does not remain static, it changes. So what I found interesting is that obviously then we have to explore that why this kind of understanding. So of course, yes, I can say I'm free of the two extremes, but am I really free from the two extremes? So from, as one investigates further and goes into more refined or subtle level of understanding, so from the Prasangika point of view, they will obviously say that the way you are positing being free from the two extremes is actually very gross. You are actually not free from the two extremes, because you are believing in objective existence and through that still positing a view of permanence actually in there, of absolutism. And then I haven't thought about it, but absolutism for sure, so in that sense nihilism also. So in the 389, what I actually was thinking more that what Geshe-la said is that in the previous situation, we have just established the first mode, which is property of the subject. And we've established that the shoot does not arise from itself, it does not arise from another. But we have not established all three modes and ascertained the main thesis that the shoot is empty of intrinsic existence. So while we go through from 374 and arrive at 389, what we are saying is that we have also examined the second mode and the third mode and ascertained the full thesis. So I asked actually Pooja for my reflection. I said, can you give me an example of a syllogism where let's say the first mode is met but the second mode is not, or the second mode is met and the first mode is not. In order to understand that, how I can understand property of the subject I can establish, but I still don't get the main thesis. So if it's useful for anyone, I would like to mention these examples because I found it very useful. So for example, I can say that Tejal as the topic, she is a bodhisattva because she is a human being. Okay? So property of the subject is met. Tejal is a human being. But the main thesis is not met. It does not qualify the second mode and the third mode. Then I can have an example of a syllogism, for example, that emptiness is impermanent because it changes momentarily. So whatever changes momentarily should necessarily be impermanent. The second mode is established, but again the final thesis is not. That's what I meant. The second is established, the first is not. So we are still not getting the main thesis. My question then comes that if by 389 we have ascertained the final thesis, actually I don't have a question, no. So basically this is my way of understanding or approaching why the two extremes are rejected in the first case, but it's not a subtle understanding. And now when we reject the two extremes, we have the full thesis, and it's a very subtle understanding.
I just wanted to add to this understanding, going back to your and Lokeshwar's question on when, if we establish the second extreme, why that isn't enough. And now this, putting it in this form of syllogism and this very clear answer that Geshe-la gave in the last class about establishing the thesis versus just, the property of the subject. This can also be applied to the four essentials or anything else. So I can posit a syllogism like I am empty of objective existence because I am not one with the parts, nor different from the parts. If I establish the first, that is also thing, and we can do this for any of the other sort of. And this answers our earlier question, that we had about why is it, necessary in a very different and I think more concrete way than when we were talking about an exhaustive list.
Kavita, I'm sorry, could you please repeat what you said?
So remember we were having a
Last
discussion.
one.
We were having a discussion, Pujala, on why if you establish just the second extreme of emptiness of intrinsic production or existence because it is not produced from another, then why is that not good enough? Because you've already established. So now we were discussing that and this, and then we talked about an exhaustive set, all that discussion. Now this teaching that Geshe-la gave about putting it in syllogism form and then examining whether you're rejecting the main thesis or just establishing the property of the subject. So as we did for these two extremes, or four extremes, sorry, we can apply that to the four essentials. Because I say, for example, Puja is empty of objective existence because she is not one with the parts, nor different from the parts. If you just establish the first part, that is also an understanding of, you're establishing the property of the subject, but you are not establishing the complete thesis. And I checked with Geshe-la about this. He said this is a good way of thinking about it. I mean, for me, then it became much clearer than our previous discussion on, and then again, we can perhaps try this with 7 modes and everything else we learn.
Hold off your questions
Okay,
for
thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you. Let's do the quick dedication.
Yep, thank you.
When I tried out learn this Chinese thinking, and then on my mobile.
She's got all, you've not seen her for a long time, she's got moved to the restaurant. This could be all your breathlessness, this water retention, usually water retention. Dr. Townsend ने कुछ बोला आपको personally? Did he say anything? I have a friend who's orthopedic surgeon, Shalimar Corpus, When you're standing, you're on the spine. Your stomach muscles become strong. It puts less stress on the spine. It doesn't solve the problem, but it helps. A good physiotherapist will teach you some muscle fixes. Then you do that. If you see orthopedic, they see structural problem, they see weakness, and then say, okay, go and see a physiotherapist. Then they will teach you exercise. Up to you, you decide. A known doctor is usually the commercial angle is good. Sometimes you don't even need a surgery doctor, any surgery commercial angle. That's why I usually go back up. Anything in surgery, even if it's a good doctor, you should take 2-3 steps. Because these things, even the commercial angle is not there, doctors are not
but there is no translation of that into actually does not is that when you come to post-meditative exercise, you will not be able to establish you may see that a cloud does not exist from another, but you cannot come back to post-meditative exercise and establish so clearly that it does not exist objectively, because there are still some options left.
Okay, folks, frustration time. folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions. Come to miseries gloom. I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, with folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered mysteries gloom. Okay, thank you. One second, let me switch on.
Good morning, everyone. Let's start the prayer with setting up proper motivation, which consists of refuge field. In front of you, visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the Buddhas, and all the Bodhisattvas. And they're looking upon you with immense love, immense kindness, and unconditional love as mother looks upon her only child. Bodhicitta filled, seated on your either side, your two most kind parents, your mother on the left and your father on the right, and you're accompanied by all their mother sentient beings. Here, you are leading them in the practice. The main aim of this practice, the purpose of this practice, is to manifest the Buddha nature, the Tathagata Garbha nature, which is the ultimate source of happiness, by removing the two mental obscurations, both afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscuration. Afflictive obscuration, which consists of afflictions of negative emotions, contaminated karmas, and their corresponding active imprints. Cognitive obscuration, the subtle stains, that is inactive seeds of affliction and contaminated karmas. Let's start by page number 3. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage.
Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Rangi tu se ne so ne, tawa tamche pampe che, tampe choni tonze pa, kodam tela chakselo. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace which is free of elaboration. Kangi tenchin jelwa yu, gapa me pa, ke me pa, chepa me pa, ta me pa, Umwa me pa, jo me pa, tate don min, don chik min, tropa nishi shiten pa, sompe sangye nan ki, tampe tela chapselo. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the bodhisattvas and the buddhas, who through the knowledge of all leads hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths causes those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of missions, self-subduers expound a variety of teachings. Nyento Shiva Shi Niki Nishi Chizai Kanina Drola Pendet Nina Nashi Niki Chiben Tondo Zivaka Ganga Yanga Debe Tuna Napa Kunde Naso Disompa Nieto Chanjo Sepe Soche Sangi Niki Yundela Chakselo. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata and protector, to you I make prostration. Sema Yupa Drola Penshepe, Topa Deshe Kyopla Chakselo. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualization and is endowed with divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays. To you, the Buddha, I make prostration. Topa Trawa Namselchi, Sabchi Gache Kumawa, Kuntu Sampo Oseda, Kune Jola Chakselo. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my accumulation of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodam Soki Chonam La Chancho Pardu Dani Kyapso Che Dadi Jinso Kipe Sonam Ki Drola Penche Sangye Druparsho. Sangye Chodam Soki Chonam La Chancho Pardu Dani Kyapso Che Dagi Jinso Kipe Sonam Ki Drola Penche Sangye Druparsho. Sangye Chodam Soki Chonam La Chancho Pardu Dani Kyapso Che Dagi Jinso Kipe Sonam Ki Drola Penche Sangye Druparsho. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavadat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashamanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yavadat Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashamanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Tesham Tathagato Hyavadat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashamanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Tesham Tathagato Yavadat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashamanaye Swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite, such as the nectar-like Dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I'll retire into the woods. Sapshi Tochen Osel Dumaje, Dusi Tabu Shoshi Kumi, Sula Shekyam Kuar Minupe, Mima Naki Nasu Neparisha. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unseen, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddha, 3 times I pay obeisance. Masam Jumi Shira Parochi, Maki Miga Namki Noni, Suso Ramri Gishe Choyulpa, Tusum Gyalwe Yuna Chatselo. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of all. I go for refuge in the Guru. Lama Sangye Lama Cho, Deshe Lama Gedu De, Pungi Jepo Lama Ye, Lama Namna Chakselo. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, please liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of eons. Shoma Chenpo Jayini, Semchen Dunya Taki Chi, Kalpa Shebe Samiso, Shoten Sechi Shukso So. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by the teaching of truth of suchness that beings are liberated. Tudnam Dipa Chui Mitu Shim Dola Dunya Chami Misala Niti Toba Shila Pumite Chuni Depa Tende Chorwakyo. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. Shona Kunti Sangiela, Termo Jate Solwai, Semchen Dunyal Mundola, Shuyi Jome Patu Sol. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Sedila Shena Shoba Min, Korwala Shena Namjume, Randona Shena Jamse Min, Zipa Juna Tawa Min. Please turn to page number 14. Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one born, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugatha, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. When O supreme amongst humans, you were born in this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. with pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, veiled in places in the three worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the three worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founded having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of the lamp, an illusion, a drop new dew, or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this marriage, my sentient beings attend the land of all sea, subdue the four of falls, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, without the goods of aging, sickness, and death. Page number 19. Sun illuminating the threefold faith, praise to the 17 Nalanda masters. Born from great compassion, aspiring to help all beings, God of gods, you have attained the sacred state of abandonment and realization, and you guide beings through the discourse of dependent origination. O able one, the son of speech, I bow my head to you. I implore you at your feet, O Nagarjuna, most skilled in elucidating such mystery of elaboration, the meaning of sutras, the mother of conquerors. Through the profound reasoning of dependent origination, in accord with the conqueror's prophecy, you initiated the middle way, the supreme vehicle. I implore you to your principal son, Bodhisattva Aryadeva, most learned and realized, who has crossed the ocean of Buddhist and non-Buddhist and is the crown jewel among those who uphold Nagarjuna's treatises. I implore you, O Buddha Palita, who has reached the supreme majestic and who has clearly elucidated Arya Nagarjuna's intent, the final meaning of dependent origination, the profound point of mere designation and its mere label. I implore you, O Master Bhava Viveka, fully accomplished Pandita, you initiated the philosophical tradition wherein, while negating extremes of truly existing things arising and so forth, you uphold commonly verified knowledge and external reality. I implore you, O Chandrakirti, who disseminated all the paths of Sutra, you are most skilled at teaching the profound and the vast aspects of the middle way, the union of appearance and emptiness dispelling the two extremes by means of dependent origination, that is mere conditionality. I implore you, O Bodhisattva Shantideva, skilled at revealing to the receptivity of fortunate spiritual trainees the excellent path of compassion that is greatly wondrous through a multitude of reasoning most profound and vast. I implore you, O Master Abba Shantarakshita, who initiated the tradition of the non-dual middle way in accordance with trainees' mental disposition. You are versed in the reasoning most of both middle way and logic, and you disseminated the conqueror's teaching in the land of snows. I implore you at your feet, O Kamalashila, you who having explained excellently the stages of meditation of the middle way view free of elaborations, and the unit of tranquility and insight in accordance with the Sutra and Tatra, flawlessly elucidated the conqueror's teaching in the land of snows. I implore you at your feet, O Arya Sangha, who have been sustained by who were versed in disseminating excellently Mahayana scriptures, and who in accord with the conqueror's prophecy initiated the tradition of mind only. I implore you at your feet, O Master Vasubandhu, you who while upholding the system of the seven Abhidharma treatises as well as non-duality, illuminate the tenets of Vibhashika, Sautantrika and mind only, foremost among learned ones, you are renowned as the second omniscient one. I implore you at your feet, O Tirnaga, the logician, you who, in order to present the Buddha's way through evidence-based reasoning, open hundredfold gateways of the system of logic, and offer as a gift to the world the eyes of critical intelligence. I implore you at your feet, O Dharmakirti, you who are understanding all the essential points of both Buddhist and non-Buddhist epistemology, brought conviction in all the profound and vast parts of Sautantrika and mind only by means of reasoning. You are most versed in teaching the excellent Dharma. I implore you at your feet, O Aryamukusana, you who lit the lamp that illuminates the meaning of ornaments treatises bearing the themes of the perfection of wisdom. Stemming from Asanga and his brother were expounded in accord with the middle theory of existence and non-existence. I implore you, O Master Haribhadra, who were prophesied by the conquerors as the founder of the meaning of the mother, the perfection of wisdom. You elucidated the excellent treatise on the perfection of wisdom, the Maitri Mothers, in perfect accord with instruction of the Savior Maitreya. I implore you at your feet, O Gunaprabha, most excellent in both integrity and scholarship, who having excellently distilled the intent, 100,000 disciplinary teachings, expounding the individual liberation vows flawlessly according to the tradition of the Sarvastivada soul. I implore you at your feet, O Shakraprabha, supreme upholders of discipline, who reign over treasury of qualities of the three trainings, in order to disseminate the stainless Vinaya teaching for a long time. You excellently expounded the meaning of the vast treatises. I implore you, O Joadisha, you who having taught all the profound and the vast tradition related to the words of the Buddha, within the framework of the path of the persons of the three capacities, in the land of snows, having thus situated these most learned ornaments of the world, the excellent sources of wondrous and insightful teachings, may I be blessed so that my mind becomes ripened and free through the entreaty I made with a mind unerring and pure. By understanding the true truths, the ontological reality, will we ascertain how through the four truths we enter and leave samsara. I will make firm the faith in the three jewels that is born of valid reason. May I be blessed so that the root of the path of liberation is firmly established within me. May I be blessed to perfect the training in renunciation and aspiration for liberation, the total pacification of suffering and its origin, as well as in uncontrived bodhicitta that is rooted in an infinite compassion that wishes to protect all sentient beings. May I be blessed so that I easily develop conviction in all the paths pertaining to the profound points of the perfection and Vajra vehicle. By engaging in study, reflection and meditation on the meaning of treatises of great trailblazers, may I in life after life obtain excellent births that support the three trainings and contribute to the teaching that equals the great trailblazers in upholding and disseminating the teachings of scriptures and realization. Through engaging in exposition and meditative practice, may the members of all spiritual communities spend their time in learning, reflection and meditation, shunning wrong livelihood through the proliferation of sublime masters. May the great face of the earth be purified throughout all time. Throughout the pacification, may I traverse all the paths of Sutra and Tantra and swiftly attain the state of the conqueror's omniscience, characterized by spontaneous realization of the two purposes. May I work for the welfare of sentient beings as long as space remains. Page number 31. We'll recite the Heart Sutra mantra. Dayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswa Dayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Paragate, Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha, Jayatha Om Gate Gate, 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 Paragate, Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha. Page number 32. 8 verses of mind training. With the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the great depth of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confirm them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them there, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a jewel treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all the hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. From my true collections, vast the space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief living Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom eyes, blinded by ignorance. Page number 73. 3 principal aspects of the path by Lama Tsongkhapa. I bow down to the venerable Lamas. As well as I am able, I will explain the essence of all the teachings of the conqueror, the path praised by the conqueror's children, the entrance for those who desire liberation. Listen with a clear mind, you fortunate ones, who are not attached to the joys of cyclic existence. Strive to make good use of leisure and opportunity, and direct your minds to the path that pleases the Buddha. Without pure renunciation, an end to attraction for the pleasure of cyclic existence is unattainable. The craving for existence also binds beings. Thus, from the outset, seek renunciation. Reverse attraction to this life by reflecting on how leisure and opportunity are difficult to find, and how life is ephemeral and without span. Reverse attraction to future lives by repeatedly thinking of the infallibility of karma and its effects, and the miseries of samsara. Contemplating thus, when pouring incense, you do not admire the splendors of cyclic existence, and remain intent on liberation day and night, renunciation is born in you then. Renunciation is not tempered by vicious, however, does not bring forth the perfect bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment, Therefore, the wise ones generate the excellent mind of Bodhicitta, swept up in the current of the four powerful rivers, tied by strong bonds of karma, so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance, born and reborn in boundless cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three miseries, thinking of your mother in this condition, generate the supreme mind of Bodhicitta. Although you train in renunciation and the mind of Bodhicitta, without wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality, you cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. Therefore, strive to understand dependent arising. One who sees the infallible cause and effect of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana and destroys all focuses of apprehension has entered the path which pleases the Buddha. Appearances are infallible, dependent arising. Emptiness is the understanding that is free of assertions. As long as these two are seen as distinct, you have not yet realized the intent of the Buddha. When these two realizations are concurrent, where the mere sight of infallible dependent origination concurrently destroys all modes of grasping through definite discernment, at that time the analysis of the profound view is perfected. Furthermore, appearances refuse the extreme of existence, emptiness refutes the extreme of non-existence. When you understand that emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, you are not captivated by the view of extremes. O my child, once you have thus realized the points of the three principal paths, seek solitude and cultivate strong determination and quickly reach the final goal. Next, page number 76, the Sutra on Impermanence. Homage to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagwan was dwelling in Anantapindita's park in the Kirtan Grove in Sravasti, along with a large monastic assembly. Bhagwan addressed the monks as follows. Monks, four things are appealing, singled out, considered valuable, pleasant and appreciated by everyone. What are those four? Monks, good health is appealing, singled out, considered valuable, pleasant, and highly appreciated by everyone. Good health, however, ends with sickness. Monks, sickness is neither appealing nor is it singled out, considered valuable, pleasant, or highly appreciated by anyone. Monks, youth is appealing, singled out, considered valuable, pleasant, and highly appreciated by everyone. Youth, however, ends with aging of the body. Monks, the aging of the body is neither appealing nor is it singled out, considered valuable, pleasant, or highly appreciated by anyone. Monks, prosperity is appealing, singled out, considered valuable, pleasant, and highly appreciated by everyone. Prosperity, however, ends with its decline. Monks, the decline of prosperity is neither appealing nor is it singled out, nor considered valuable, pleasant, or highly appreciated by anyone. Monks, life is appealing, singled out, considered valuable, pleasant, and highly appreciated by everyone. Life, however, ends in death. Monks, death is neither appealing nor is it singled out, considered valuable, pleasant, or highly appreciated by anyone. Thus spoke the Bhagavan, the Sugatha, and having spoken, the teacher added these words. Good health is impermanent, youth does not last, prosperity is impermanent, and life too does not last. How can beings afflicted as they are impermanent take delight in desirable things like this? When the Bhagavan thus spoken, the monks rejoiced and praised his words. This completes the Sutra on Impermanence. Since in Kishore accounts we can recite the short mandala offering, page number 73, 37. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha faith and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure land. May I be blessed that the path is free of flaws. May I be blessed that the flaws is seen in the light of exalted wisdom. The four dharmas of Venerable Bhikshu Mahasattva, becoming frustrated with ignorance that grasps at true existence, please bless me to generate genuine renunciation, seeing all aspects of samsara as viciously repulsive. Please bless me that my mind stream overflows with the precious bodhicitta that cherishes others more than myself. Please bless me to have an immaculate experience of the wisdom of emptiness that does not see even an atom of intrinsic reality on the basis of understanding how things come into being by dependent origination through mere conditioning. Please bless me that my mind stream overflows with the precious wisdom of the non-duality of bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandakam Riyadami. Next page, the foundation of all good qualities. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect Guru. Correct devotion to him is the root of the path. By clearly seeing these and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon him with great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once, is greatly meaningful and is difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly day and night takes its essence. This life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. Just like a shadow follows the body, the results of virtuous and non-virtuous karma follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest negativity and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Samsaric splendors are unsatisfying and unreliable. Seeking them is the door to all suffering. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate a strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Led by this pure thought, mindfulness, alertness, and great caution arise. The root of the teaching is keeping the vows. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice, just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara to have all mother migratory beings. Please bless me to see this supreme and supreme bodhicitta and bear responsibility of freeing migratory beings. Even if I have developed bodhicitta, but I don't practice the three types of morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vow with great energy. Once I have pacified distraction with wrong objects and currently realize the meaning of reality, please bless me to generate quickly again my mind stream, a unified path of calm abiding and special insight. Having become a pure vessel by training in the general path, please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the two attainments is keeping pure vows and samaya. As I have become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life.
Then, having realized the importance
Of the two stages, the essence of Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy, never giving up of the 4 sessions. Please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Like that, may the Guru who shows the path and the spiritual friends who practice it have long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. In all my lives, never separated from perfect Gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages in the path. May I quickly attain the state of the Vajradhara. We can recite the Mixima mantra also. Mime seve deshe shandresi jime kebe wampu jampeya Yampo malu jomza samveda kanshe kebe sugyen sumkhava Lozan jaspe shakla solvadev Mime seve deshe shandresi jime kebe wampu jampeya Dudbu malu jomze samveda kanshe kebe sugyen sumkhava Lozan jaspe shakla solvadev Mime seve deshe shandresi jime kebe wampu jampeya Dudbu malu jomze samveda kanshe kebe sugyen sumkhava Lozan jaspe shakla solvadev
Gelin yapış. Okay, okay, can you hear me? Okay, After this review, I'm wondering if we can have your questions after the review. Not today. It may take another 1 or 2 sessions. After completing the review of this part, the selflessness of phenomena, then I'd like to, maybe we can do the part of the session for question answers if you have some questions. Okay, so now we are on the root text with outlines, page 59, reference number 414. Okay, reference number 414, it reads, okay, so the reference number 410, which reads, second, dispelling the argument that this would contradict the scriptures that teach the existence of a mind basis of all. Mind basis of all, Kunshi, Alaya Vijnana, or Alivigyan. So the opponents, seeing that Acharya Chandrakriti thus far rejected the rejected intrinsic reality, and also having rejected the production from another now they're saying that how can one reject the intrinsic reality, because the Buddha taught in various ways the existence of intrinsic reality. Okay. So one is, the Buddha taught the Alivijnana, the mind basis of all, or repository consciousness. These are the different translations. So there, now we jump to reference number 414. Actual meaning of the words that dispel contradiction with the scriptures that teach the existence of a mind basis of all. Foundational consciousness, or the repository consciousness, or the mind basis of all. These are the different translations. Foundational consciousness, mind basis of all, and the repository consciousness exists. The person itself exists. It is these aggregates that alone exist. These statements, okay, so these are what the Buddha taught. Foundational, or the Alivijnana, exists, and a person, permanent, unitary, independent person exists, and then these aggregates exist. So Alivijnana, of course, this one. Then the one thing that also we need to keep in mind in a very comprehensive way is that at one point the Buddha taught that the 5 aggregates are the loads or the burdens. Burden is not really a good translation. The 5 aggregates are the loads to carry, and a person is the carrier of the loads. So with this analogy, what we can deduce is that the Buddha is teaching that the self exists as a permanent, unitary, independent self. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. In other words, we may get a little confused. The point is that how the Buddha taught is not necessarily on the basis of what was in the Buddha's own mind. It can be done with respect to, or in conformity to the audience the thinking of the audience, the temperaments of the audience. So oftentimes, although things, the Buddha saying that to teach emptiness, the person go into nihilism. So instead of that, the Buddha, they refrain from teaching emptiness and teach something else which suits the person the most. In some cases, where a person is so keen and the mind is so struck, the mind is very struck with the belief in the permanent unitary independent self, the Buddha taught, yes, it does exist. And say one example that he taught these such things is that the 5 aggregates, the Buddha taught that the 5 aggregates are the loads, and the person is the carrier of the loads. So this teaching is a very clear indication that the Buddha taught the permanent unitary independent self. So how can we relate these two things? That the loads, so 5 loads, 5 aggregates, the loads when you're carrying the loads, and then the loads you can, when you're tired, you can put down the loads. Then you can be separated from the loads, and you can go there, loads are still here. So then the 5 loads, the characteristics of the loads, and you as a carrier, and the loads, these two are different entities. 5, the aggregates as the loads, they have very different characteristics, and you have a very different characteristics. So can be separated as 2 different entities simultaneously. If this were the case, then we see that the aggregates, the 5 aggregates that we have, the body and the mind, particularly the body and mind, and the mind can further be split into, say, the 4. So we see that these 5 aggregates, they are impermanent, they are not permanent. So what we see as impermanent, that I'm changing, is just the body, that my mind is changing, it's just the mind. So the impermanence that you see within you is not actually you. This is how the people, the advocates of permanent unitary independent self believe, that what is seen as impermanent, what is seen as changing, that's the body and the mind, the 5 aggregates. Although the 5 aggregates, while the 5 aggregates are impermanent, but the self, which is distinct entity, it is not necessary to be impermanent, it is permanent. So what we see as impermanent are the 5 aggregates, and the self is permanent. And what we see, the parts, the body and the mind, both have multiple parts. So although the body and mind, what we see as parts, multiple parts, these are not self. These are the parts of the body and the mind, aggregates. And the aggregates have nothing to do with you. You two are 2 different simultaneous, they're distinct entities. So although the body and the mind, the aggregates, they have parts, but you as a person, you do not have parts. You are a partless person. So permanent, partless means unitary without any parts. And then the body, we see that body is heavily dependent on the food, the external factors, and the mind also depends on the environment and so forth. So which means that the body and mind, they're heavily dependent on other factors, but it's not you. You are independent entity. So permanent, unitary, and independent. So this is, when you see that the self is posited as simultaneously distinct entity from the 5 aggregates, then the belief that, okay, what is seen as permanent, changing, dying, all these things are just happening on the aggregates, and the self has nothing to do with that. Self is permanent, unitary, independent. So this teaching of Buddha, although cannot be accepted literally at face value, but the Buddha did teach this, 1. Then number 2, the other times the Buddha said that the self does not exist, but the aggregates, the karma and the aggregates, they exist. Self does not exist, but the karma and the aggregates do exist. Okay, so now we see that this person is a little more advanced in the thinking. Thinking is more sophisticated. So the person explores into the self and sees that, say, because your body is a male's body or the female's body, you say that I am male, I am female. Because your mind is compassionate or not compassionate. Then you describe yourself, okay, I'm compassionate, I'm not compassionate. So there's, besides the aggregates, the self is not there. This is what the most sophisticated, somebody who's more evolved in the thought processes, they come to that level of realization that the self is not really there. Other than, besides, what is really there, what is really there is just the karma, the 5 aggregates, and the aggregates are determined by the karma, and the karma and the aggregates are there, but the self is not really there as so substantial, the solid entity from the object. Self is there or not? Self does exist, but the self does not exist as a substantial entity there. Okay, so this is this teaching where the Buddha said the self does not exist, but the karmas and the aggregates exist. This teaching teaches the emptiness of autonomous substantial reality, right? Emptiness of this teaching teaches the emptiness of autonomous substantial reality. And then another time the Buddha said that everything is just all 3 worlds. All 3 realms are your own mind. All 3 realms are your mind, indicating that they're teaching the Chittamatra philosophy. That is just your mind. Beyond this mind, nothing's really there. There's no externality. It's just a mind. And then still another time, the Buddha said that nothing really exists intrinsically. Everything is mentally imputed. So there, then the Buddha taught the Madhyamika philosophy. Okay, so from this we see that that what the Buddha taught, it is not necessary that the Buddha taught according to the all in line with the reality, all in line with what he realized. So he taught, oftentimes he taught according to the needs, or in conformity with the thinking pattern, mentality of the audience. Okay, so with this, the opponents, when Acharya Chandagiri rejected the production from another, or production from intrinsic production there, then the opponents say that, how come that you are rejecting the Buddha's own teaching? The Buddha taught intrinsic reality when he taught the concept of Alivigyan, concept of the Kunshi, Alivigyan. So, foundational topics, that the person itself exists, which means the person exists as permanent, unitary, independent entity, and it is the aggregates that alone exist. And then the other time Buddha said the person does not exist, but the karma and the aggregates exist. So all these are taught. So if you are to accept each of these teachings at face value, or in other words, if you are to take them literally, then you are implicitly accepting intrinsic reality, objective reality. Because to posit Alivigyan, the basic ground is the belief in intrinsic reality. And the belief in, of course, to see the person as autonomous substantial real, to see the person as permanent, unitary, independent, the ground is the person to be intrinsically real. And then finally, aggregates alone exists. The person, if you explore towards the object, it disappears, but what is there is the aggregates, which means intrinsically what is left there is the aggregates. So all these teachings, the ground is the belief in intrinsic reality. So these, Acharya Chandagiri is saying that these, I'm not saying that the Buddha did not teach these. Buddha did teach these, but these statements which the Buddha has made, are for those who cannot understand the most profound truth. And they say earlier, so now, Acharya Chandagiri, what Acharya Chandagiri is saying here, this is, now I could see that this is very true, because say when we talk about okay, it's very interesting. Just recently, for the Chennai, the BAM Institute, BAM Institute there in Chennai. Is there anyone from Chennai? No. Okay. So there, it was a beautiful program. So it was hosted by one of the participants of Narendra Master's course, Dr. Nivedita from Mumbai, Professor Dr. Nivedita. She is very dynamic, and she is teaching Buddhist psychology. She finished her PhD in the Western psychology and then learned Buddhist psychology under Ashaji and Zubinji in Pune. And now she's teaching Buddhist psychology as a whole 1-year course in Mumbai and also 1-year course in Chennai. These two places. The Mumbai is more regular. Chennai is they fly at least once every month to teach there, and then very systematic. So she invited me to teach there for 4 sessions for 2 days. And so there was one gentleman, he asked, so I was just touching various, because that was just 2 days for whole the Buddhist psychology, 2 days. So I was trying to, and that too, she was very precise. The Dr. Nivedita was very precise that I should teach on Bodhicitta. So Bodhicitta teaching was done there, and that too the second method, the equalizing and exchanging method. We did that, and then alongside the invariably many other important topics also come. And then there was one gentleman. He asked. I just was. So they are very important topics because the amount of the interest that they are showing and the enthusiasm is so rigorous that I had to go through the many nuances, complicated topics. And then finally I just touched on the area about the mental defilement. So first starting with a very basic idea of the wanting to get rid of suffering, to have the maximum happiness. This is how we started. And then the misery started because of the self-grasping ignorance, and the maximum happiness possible through the expansive unconditional love. So this is how we began the whole 2-day course. And then we have to explain, I have to justify how the self-grasping ignorance is responsible for all the miseries, and how the adhicharisha mind or the unconditional love can possibly attract the infinite happiness. I have to justify that because this is not just 1 day, 1 session talk, public talk. It's a course. And then the people, they have been listening to Dr. Nivedita for the last few months. They already learned a great deal. So I had to explain something very sensible with all these links to the various points which I shared with them. And then the one gentleman, he asked questions. I had to bring up the concept of the mistake with respect to the object of appearance, mistake with respect to the object of engagement, and then mistake with respect to the object of appearance. I just made a very quick summation from the A jump to the say the 100 to the Z, like Gade Bodhisattva, like I did like this. And then this gentleman, he did not spare me, right? So what I said is that the mistake with the object of apprehension, that is referred to as that and related. They are referred to as the cognitive obscurity, the affective obscurations. Mistake with respect to the appearance and related are related to cognitive obscuration. And then during the questions and session, she asked, how is that related? How mistake with respect to the appearance is related to cognitive obscuration? What is cognitive obscuration in the first place? And how these two are connected? And how the mistake, and then how that is related to the adhicharisha mind. Mistake with respect to the appearance, getting rid of this, and infinite compassion, and removing cognitive obscuration, how they are related. He did not spare me. Okay, he asked this question. And likewise, the mistake with respect to the object of apprehension, related to the afflictive obscurations, how this is related. And afflictive obscurations related to the freedom from all after getting rid of the afflictive obscurations related to the freedom from all miseries. How these are related. Okay, so this is very interesting. Although I was not really keen, just 2 days. I was not really keen to go into the depth, just because that is a course. It's a proper 1-year course. So I do have the responsibility to touch on these areas. So what I'm saying here is that had it been the case that it's just like, say, the 1-day lecture and so forth, then I can just touch on these areas, and even the audience, you can just okay, this is how Acharya Chandagiri says, this is how it works like this. Okay, although I'm not too clear, but here, the master's course, I can see that the flow is there, the momentum is there, and because of which that the need for us to be very coherent with whatever we say, we must be able to see the links. Okay, so this is what I want to share with you. So now the point is that so when we say that these teachings, teaching Alivigyan, the teaching on the self to be permanent, unitary, independent, and the teaching on the aggregates to be existing intrinsically as autonomous, substantial, real. So these teachings, Acharya Chandagiri says that these are so for those who cannot understand the most profound truth. Page 60, the first line. These teachings are given for those people who do not have the capacity to understand the profound truth. And that's this is what I'm saying is that for those people more just for 1-day lecture, I see that we just say something which may not be too politically correct or too technically correct, and because the person, if you go to the technical, the person will get nothing. So we have to say something which may not tally with the technicalities, but still the person gets something. So likewise, the Buddha taught these things, although they may not tally with the reality, still the people get something and they're benefited. Okay, for those who cannot understand the most profound truth at that point. Okay, next reference 415. The manner of explaining and not explaining a mind basis of all that is a different entity from the mental consciousness, presenting an example taught from the point of view of the intention in teaching the existence of a mind basis of all. Okay. So now Acharya Chandagiri is saying that these teachings, I agree with the opponents or the advocates of Alivigyan that these teachings the Buddha did teach. When the Buddha teaches something, it doesn't mean that it should necessarily, these are the thoughts of the Buddha. It's not necessary. Because just as even though he is free from self-grasping view, the Buddha used expressions like I and mine. Likewise, even though entities are devoid of intrinsic existence, within a provisional sense, he taught that they do exist. So, and the point is, okay, I know no need to just read it, you understand it. Then the next part, we are coming to a very huge topic, very important topic, refuting the Chittamatra system in particular. Okay, so the belief in intrinsic reality, belief in production from another. So there, Chittamatra is one of the strongest opponents, and once we are able to reject the Chittamatra's view, and of course, it's not that all what Chittamatra accepts are wrong. Keep this in mind that not all what Chittamatra accepts is wrong. So we have to be able to have the capacity to segregate what what are the points which Chittamatra teaches and can be acceptable by Prasangika, and what are points which are not acceptable. Okay. We jump to reference number 424. Stating the other system. Now what Chittamatra has to say, mind only. Because no apprehended object exists, he sees no subject. Okay, so here we already explained this very quick. Because no external apprehended object exists, this is I'm adding the annotation. I'm giving the annotation. Because no external apprehended object exists, or because no apprehended external object exists, he or she sees no subject different from the external objects. There's no subject which is different from the external, which is different from the external objects. Okay, in other words, what is being said is that there's no subject to see the external object. There's no subject which validly sees the external objects. Okay, in other words, to make it short, what it's saying is that it's just a subject. There's no object, there's no external object there. Okay, make this difference: subject object, subject and external object. Chittamatra is not really dealing with the subject object in the parlance of Prasangika. In the parlance of Prasangika, Chittamatra, they talk about subject, but they don't really talk about the emptiness of the object. They say it's just a subject, meaning just the mind. And if it's just mind, then what you are negating? You are negating the externality. They're not negating object, they're negating the externality. So whereas they're not negating, they are negating externality, they don't reject objectivity. They don't reject objective existence. Whereas the Madhyamikas, when they say this subjective, they reject the objectivity. So then what degree of objectivity you reject, that depends. Svatanta Madhyamika would reject partly of the objective existence. They do accept objective existence, but they reject partly. Say, let's say in the figure 50% objective, 50% subjective, which means that it's not 100% objective. In other words, Svatanta Madhyamika, what they reject is 100% objectivity is rejected. Whereas Prasangika, what they reject is, they reject all degrees, not only 100, 90, 80, 40s, 20, even 0.001 objectivity is rejected. In other words, Prasangika rejects all degrees of objective existence, all degrees, not only 100, even the subtlest of the objectivity, 0.01, even that is rejected. In other words, Prasangika rejects all degrees of objectivity, whereas the Svatanta Madhyamika rejects 100% of the objects, saying that from the object is 50. It's not that the object does not exist. Object does exist. Not only object exists, it exists objectively 50%, and 50% is coming from the subject. Okay. And because the second line reads, reference 424, the mind only, because no apprehended external object exists, he or she sees no subject which is no subject which sees the external, which validly sees the external object. And because he or she cognizes the three worlds as mere consciousness, this is all the statement of the Chittamatra. Because he or she cognizes the three worlds as mere consciousness, mere mind, as the Buddha taught, that all three worlds, three realms, or the three worlds are the mind. And this is how the Bodhisattvas, when they follow from Gade, the first one, Gade to second Gade is fine. Then from second Gade to, of course, even the first Gade to the second Gade, we have to traverse, we have to jump. Transition must take place on the basis of the realization of emptiness. On the basis of realization of emptiness. Driven by bodhicitta, and then the actual realization must be the realization of emptiness. So, Gate, path of accumulation to path of preparation, is the transitioning happened through the wisdom of emptiness. Then the Gate, Paragate, path of preparation to the path of seeing, that of course should be done through the wisdom of emptiness. Wisdom of emptiness, conceptual experience, will jump to the transition to the non-dual experience emptiness, Paragate. Then from Paragate to Parasangate, again the wisdom of emptiness, and then Bodhisattva, wisdom of emptiness. Okay, so we see that this is how the Bodhisattvas, when they traverse. So according to Prasangika, it's not only the Bodhisattvas, even the Shravakas, Pratik Buddhas, when they transition from one path to the other, they transition through the wisdom of emptiness. And according to lower schools, the representation of the Mahayana and the Shravakan and Pratik Buddhas, personal liberation seekers, the Mahayana transition through the wisdom of emptiness, and the others, they transition through the wisdom of seeing the emptiness of autonomous substantial reality, right? Okay, and then the lowest school, Vaibhashika, the presentation is different. For Vaibhashika, it doesn't matter whether it's the Mahayana or the personal liberation seeker. In both cases, you can realize the transition can take place on the basis of one of the realizations of one of the 16 aspects, not necessarily the emptiness or the autonomous substantial reality, but even impermanence is also fine. Seeing impermanence, through this you can transition from path to the next path. Okay. So what is that here? Reference number 424. The Bodhisattvas. The Bodhisattva who abides in the perfection of wisdom. The perfection of wisdom, it is in terms of consciousness only that he or she shall realize suchness. So it is in terms of consciousness only, meaning mind only. Mind only, it is nothing to do with the emptiness of objective existence, emptiness of intrinsic existence. It is just in terms of the consciousness only, which means no externality. In the context of the absence of externality. Okay, so let's see. It is in terms of consciousness only here that he or she shall realize suchness. Okay, the great scholars who say that the Bodhisattvas, when they realize emptiness, what is that realized emptiness? Some say, it's not the standard answer, some say that, look at this text, what Acharya Chandrakirti paraphrased the Chittamatras, say that it is in terms of consciousness only. So the person can see, oh, externality is empty. You're getting it, and then you can stay in this. Or it's only the mind you're going to stay in this. Only mind, according to Chittamatra. Let's say we're all following Chittamatra. Only mind only. One. What's the implicit meaning? No externality. This is one. Only mind. And the other one is no externality. No externality. Okay. No externality, emptiness of externality, and only mind. These two are isolated wise, one is different. How? Tejala, you want to say?
Only mind, the isolate would be a positive phenomena, and seeing emptiness of external reality should be a negative phenomenon.
Okay.
So the isolate would be
okay, so the only mind okay, only mind. Does it not reject anything? Externality is rejected, not rejected? It rejects, right? It rejects.
Yes. It rejects it implicitly. Yes.
So therefore it's not positive.
It is, because it's focusing on that it's only the mind.
Then the non-affirming negative, affirming negative. Hey, affirming negative.
No, it's a positive phenomenon.
He eats only in the night time. Only in the night time. That is positive or negative? No? Negative, right?
No.
He eats only in the night time. What's the example of affirming negative? Affirming negative, right? Affirming negative exists, not exists? It exists. What example do you have?
He doesn't eat in the night time.
He doesn't. Which means that he is only in the daytime. Yeah.
First one you said does eat in the night time.
No, he only eats. He eats only in the night time.
It's positive.
Strange.
There's no negation.
Why not?
There's
So
no
negation.
explicit negation
No.
in the statement.
So no. So basically, say, okay, let's say, flower, non-flower rejected,
Yes.
right? So there is no word there, there is no explicit word there which rejects the non-flowers. They say, I eat only in the night time. Right? This only is a word which rejects eating in the nighttime, daytime, right? So there's the explicit word there.
No.
Why not?
It rejects, but not explicitly.
Why not? No, only this word. Why this word is added, explicitly added? This word is explicitly added. Yes, explicit for what?
It does not reject. It does reject that the person does not eat in the night time, but it does not reject explicitly.
Why not?
Explicitly means you need a negation explicitly.
Why not? How it is not explicitly negated?
Because it is not a negation explicitly.
How not?
Only is not only. For example, let's say.
Not.
I only
Let's say
have,
this
I have
model-
only 5 rupees. Let's say I have only 5 rupees. It means that it's a positive affirmation that I have only 5 rupees. It does not explicitly say anything else. And it does not
You
negate.
said that, okay, there are two ways of thing. How much money you have? Right? Actually, okay, we're all going for a party. Right? We're all going for a party. Okay, you should be ready. How much money you have? I have 5 rupees. Implying that, right? I don't have money. I have 5 rupees. And somebody is very direct. I have only 5 rupees. Right? Which is more direct? The point is that the person says that I don't have money. Right? So one said that I have 5 rupees. Others, I have only 5 rupees. Which is more direct? Huh? Of course, only 5 rupees. Yeah. Okay. So the point is, the word only has a connotation of something, but how that is reflected in your mind. The words are not the words. Words should not be given the priority. What is reflected must be how it is reflected in your thought process. Only it rejects. This word it rejects that. Okay, so the point is so one is that you meditate on the, say, according to Chittamatra, right? That, okay, only consciousness. So what you have is consciousness comes to mind. Externality goes away. And consciousness is very vividly in your mind. One meditation. And although this is not a standard answer, but the standard position, but many of the scholars and even the practitioners are there, not just scholars, scholar come practitioners, they actually meditate on this, just activating the mind, rejecting externality, and then just stay in this experience. So this for them is the meditation on the suchness. This is how Acharya Chandrakirti paraphrase Chittamatra. It is in terms of consciousness only that he or she shall realize suchness. You're getting it? Okay. Now others will say that no, this is not. Now the more standard answer, standard response, this is not the meditative suchness. this suchness must be seen as non-affirming negative. So that is mere consciousness or the mere mind versus no externality, emptiness externality. You have to focus on that part. The externality reject, finish, stay there. This is meditation suchness. They are these two, the different the standpoints pertaining to the Chittamata's version of emptiness. Okay. So what we are learning here, finally what we are learning here is that Chittamatra, what they say is that it is only the mind. The mind exists intrinsically, that externality is absent, it is empty. Mind exists intrinsically. So this is what Chittamatra is saying. And finally, Acharya Chandrika is going to reject the mind, that the mind to be existing as intrinsically. Okay. Now they give the example. Just as waves after waves rise high in an ocean stirred by windstorm, so from the seat of all known as foundation consciousness or Alaya Vijnana or Kunshi, through its potentiality emerge consciousness only. Through its potentiality, okay, so what is really there is just the Alaya Vijnana according to the scripture following Chittamatra, not according to the reason following Chittamatra. According to scripture following Chittamatra, what really exists there is the Alaya Vijnana or the Alaya Vijnana. And then what they say, like the Alaya Vijnana, which is described like the ocean, massive ocean. And on the ocean, what happens? Because of the wind or the storm, then the waves are created. Just the waves after waves rise high in an ocean stirred by a windstorm. Windstorm is the metaphor for karma, and the ocean is the metaphor for Alaya Vijnana, and the waves rising high are the metaphor for all the other six consciousnesses and their respective objects. They are like the waves, right? And the waves, they are by no means they are different from the ocean. The waves, the wind subsides, the wave will go back into the ocean, right? The waves arise from the ocean, they will go back into the ocean. Likewise, all what we are seeing, actually our mind, Alaya Vijnana, this is like the ocean, according to the mantra. This is like the ocean, and then say closer towards the death, what happens is that all what is happening, what is seen, what is experienced, this is my mother, my house, my car, my book, my this, my that, all these things you see as the objects there, and what makes you think that this is my thing? The information provided to us is by the six consciousnesses. So they are all like the waves on the ocean. So when the wind of the karma, which projected our birth, out of this birth, this wind subsides, and all these waves will slowly go back to the ocean. Likewise, all our thought processes, all of the five sense consciousnesses, and the mental consciousness, and the corresponding six objects, they are all like the waves. These waves will all go back to the Alaya Vijnana, ocean of the Alaya Vijnana. When the wind, the karma, to project our birth, when that we're closer towards the death, that karma exhausts. When that karma exhausts, then that wind stops. When the wind stops, all the waves will go back into Alaya Vijnana. Okay, we die. So what is left? Is only Alaya Vijnana is left. Alaya Vijnana is left, and the Alaya Vijnana is left. Then at the time of the birth, again the wind for the next birth. Wind of the karma of the next birth, whichever is more active will take take over, and then this wind will start to blow. Then again the waves are created. Waves again, you have the 12 links of dependent origination. 12 links. Again the name and form, the name, these six consciousnesses, the form, the body, the aggregates of the body and so forth, and then all these will come into play, and then again you see that again this is mine, again it multiplies, again it escalates, and it becomes more and more expensive. So this is how the rebirth happens. Okay, so finally what is really there is just the Adivigyan. So from the seed of all known as foundational consciousness through its potentiality meaning that the karmic wind blows, and this Adivigyan contains the seeds. The seeds imprints to create the waves, and the different waves. Say some waves, the waves in the form of a very healthy body, some waves in the form of very nice clean area, some in the form of say the very good environment, some in a bad environment, bad the weather, and the say whatever. Say all these are nothing but your perception nothing but the activation of the seed inside. It's just the seed inside that is activated to create all these perceptions, these subjects and the objects. These two all they arise simultaneously. That's it. This is all coming from the activation of the potentiality. Potentiality here refers to the imprints. Okay, from these imprints emerge consciousness only. Then emerge all the 6 consciousnesses and their respective 6 objects. So they are nothing but manifestation of this Adivigyan. So these are not. Adivigyan is a part of consciousness. It's a mind. Okay. Therefore, that which is the dependent nature. So now from this, what we will learn, according to the mantra, is that the 3 natures, imputed nature, other power nature, or the dependent nature. Sometimes people translate it as contingent nature. Contingent nature, dependent nature, other power nature, they all mean the same in the context of the 3 natures according to Chitta Mantra. Okay, then the thoroughly established nature or ultimate reality. So these are 3 natures. Now of these 3 natures, what we see is that, for example, now according to Chitta Mantra, we see this flower, and then we see this flower is externally real, and it's not, but it appears as external real. Externality of the flower is the imputed nature, and to see the externality of the flower, there must be a flower there. There must be a flower in the first place. So the flower is the dependent nature. Then on the basis of because the flower is there, dependent nature, then we see as, because of our the deceptive ignorance, we see it as externally real. So externality of the flower, that is the imputed nature. And then when you, after studying all these texts, and we practice to the best we can, then you realize that what I'm seeing is deceptive. You will see that this flower is actually empty of what is imputed, empty of externality, that is the thoroughly established nature. So we see that these 3 natures came into being. So finally what is there is the emptiness of externality is the thoroughly established phenomena. This is because, not really because, this we are trying to see because that we are imputing something wrong. The object to be externally real. What makes me to see things externally real? There must be ground. That's the ground that there should be flower. So flower is the other powered nature. So other powered nature, imputed nature, and the thoroughly established nature. For that, finally, the ground is other powered nature. And even this flower is not really a flower there. It's just a manifestation of the flower because of the activation of the potentiality, activation of the imprint that is within my own Adivigyan. So what is really there is the Adivigyan. What is the Adivigyan? Adivigyan is which of the 3 natures? Other power nature or dependent nature. So what is really there in this universe? It is just Adivigyan, or it's just the dependent nature. So it says, therefore, that which is the dependent nature, referring to Adivigyan, or in fact impermanent phenomena and dependent nature, these 2 are synonymous. And finally what is there is for example, say according to physics today, all the material things that exist in this universe, all the material things, they are nothing but made of electrons, protons, neutrons, bosons, all these, they are just nothing but the manifestation of the elementary particles, that's it. So elementary particles, that is the basic framework, that is the basic fabric of the whole universe, according to physics. So likewise, according to scripture following Chittamatra, say the fabric of the whole universe is the Alivigyan. And the Alivigyan, it can, they say, manifest. What makes it to manifest? Because it has a potentiality to manifest in different forms. And see, what makes is to, sometimes it does not manifest into other forms, sometimes it does. What makes the difference? The third factor is the storm of the karma. Storm of the karma. That is one which makes us to manifest. To manifest, there should be the potential to manifest. That is the potentiality. And what manifests is the Alivigyan. Into what? All the universe that we see, the beautiful, not beautiful, food, smell, the house, the weather, and your own body, and the everything, whatever you see, whatever you experience, whatever you perceive, they manifest in these forms. Okay, so that thing, the basic framework, the fabric of the whole universe, which is the Alivigyan, and which in turn falls under the category of the three natures. It falls under which category? Which nature? Other power nature or dependent nature. So therefore it describes that what is this dependent nature? This is the fabric of the whole universe, this dependent nature. It says, therefore, that which is the dependent nature is the cause of the perception of any imputed entity. So this dependent nature has three natures, three qualities, three attributes. One is, it appears in the absence of any apprehended external objects, meaning that this dependent nature exists independent of externality, meaning that there's no externality, there's no external reality, but this dependent nature, Shenwang exists. Shenwang exists. One of its characteristics is that this Shenwang exists as independent of externality. There's no externality there. It's just this, the Shenwang as the mind, the Shenwang, imputed nature. It appears, or it exists in the absence of any apprehended external objects, number one. Number two, that it exists intrinsically. This Shenwang, or this dependent nature, or the other power nature, in other words, impermanent phenomena. It exists as intrinsically. It exists intrinsically, number two. Then number three, is not an object of any conceptual elaboration. So what it is, the other power of nature, the impermanent phenomena, we cannot fully apprehend it through conceptualization or through the conceptual mind. For example, the same different people, they come in this hall, they look at this flower, or they look at this, they do as a prayer flag, who have never seen prayer flags before. See, some who are doing business with the ink, different inks, ink for the cloth, ink for the paper, and so forth. Their eyes to catch only the ink part. How old is this? Is 2 years old, right? Oh, they use very high quality ink, right? Their focus is on the ink, okay. And those people who are more into aesthetic, right? They will not see the ink. They will see how this is, put, the color combination, and how that is put, whether not Tibet House is aesthetically conscious, right? They see that. And some people who look for things huge, massive like this, but they are tiny flags. Some people, they are looking for cute things. It would be better if that's smaller. And some people who are the painters, right? Michelangelo comes, he looks into the painting inside. So we see that we can see with the same object, our focus is different. And then going back, somebody tells these different people, what do you see there? Do you see the prayer flags there? They'll say yes. Describe. They will all describe differently, right? which means that our conceptual mind, they cannot fully see the object. They cannot see the object fully. They cannot see the object fully. Okay, so this is not, it is not an object. It's not an object to be seen fully by the conceptual elaborations, by thought processes. Thought processes, they pick up only one characteristic at a time, right? Okay, whereas the object, intrinsic object, the bare nature, it is beyond the conceptualization. Bare nature has, in the first place, it has innumerable attributes, characteristics in the first place, and this is something which is beyond, which cannot, which is something which we cannot fully express it in words and a conceptualization. Okay, these are the three characteristics. From this, what we are learning is that the other powered nature exists intrinsically. And yet, in the absence of other powered nature, you cannot explain Alivigyan. And without explaining Alivigyan, you are contradicting the Buddha's teaching. Buddha taught Alivigyan. You're getting it? So therefore, intrinsicality exists. This is how the opponents try to convince us. Okay, now refuting that. Okay. So from this, what we learned is that finally what is there is just the mind, which is the other powered nature or the independent nature. Finally, that is it. Now Acharya Chandrakriti is asking, the next, we jump to reference number 439. The example of a dream does not establish an inherent existence in consciousness. Okay, that's fine. Your explanation is fine. That this Alivigyan, which is the dependent nature or the other powered nature, which is the final fabric of the whole universe, that's fine. But you have to convince, you have to prove that, or you have to convince that. Convince rationally. You should be convincing us. For that matter, first give me an example. What example do you have for me to be convinced of what you said? That's finally what we have, just a mind, there's no externality. What example do you have? Okay, we read the last stanza, page 61. Middle way. Where is your example for this mind with no external object? What example do you have to say that only mind exists and externality does not exist? Page 61. Page 61, the last paragraph, or the last stanza. Where is your example for this mind with no external objects? If you say, like a dream, for example, do reflect upon this point. So now the Chittamata would say that it's like a dream. And it would be good for us, for our own benefit, to really understand the philosophy so well, Madhyamika philosophy so well, to what extent you can really appreciate the Madhyamika philosophy. Precisely, the Prasangika philosophy is to what extent you understand Chittamatra philosophy, and to what extent you understand Savatantra Madhyamika philosophy. If you understand these two philosophies so well, to the extent that somebody who is really an advocate of Chittamatra philosophy and advocate of the Chittamatra philosophy, like Savatantra Madhyamika philosophy, and then if you're able to paraphrase their thought, the philosophy to them, and they said that yes, this is, you have understood our philosophy. If you come to that point, then you've understood it, and then still when you see, if you see loopholes there, with these there are loopholes, then you can jump to, you can proceed to Prasangika. This is how then you will appreciate the Prasangika's philosophy so much. Okay, otherwise we don't understand Chittamatra philosophy and Savatantra Madhyamika philosophy and just rule out by saying that fine, these are not the ultimate thoughts of the Buddha's teaching. If this is how we reject or denigrate this philosophy, in a way it is the kind of a great loss, that in a way it hinders us from understanding the Prasangika philosophy well. Okay, so for that matter, this is something that if you understand this, the example, the dreamiest example that they give, okay, by the way, I'm just out of curiosity, I'm just wondering, how many of you really explored, or you gave a little bit of thought to this, that what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing, how can I distinguish this from a dream? Did you give a thought with this? Okay, this is very important. How can I distinguish this from a dream? One. Then going to the Chitta Mantra, just as the dream is coming from our mind, in the dream, right? Say, for that matter, one thing that we can do is see how much we can in the dream be aware of the dream. One. Or in the dream, somehow, even though you may not be aware that you are dreaming in the dream, still somehow you create the factors, conditions that you dream of analyzing. You dream of doing this analysis. Okay, interestingly, last night my thought process, my dream was busy with distinguishing between two things. Very interesting. Last night, the dream. Maybe it was the effect of the Chennai teaching. I was distinguishing between this one, the independence. Say, we reject independent existence. And on the other hand, say, we should not be affected by external factors. We should be independent of external factors. Right? So we're encouraging people to become independent. On the other hand, nothing independent exists. Right? So, how to explain this? Not really explain this, how would you articulate the difference between these two words, the same word, independence, in the context of what you reject by saying everything is dependently existent, and on the other hand saying that we should not be dependent on the external factors. We should become independent of the external factors. Independent of the external factors. So in the dream I was just discussing, not really discussing, trying to articulate how to, very interesting, yeah. Okay, likewise, one thing that we have to do is just try to create the factors whereby two, either in the dream you are aware that you're dreaming, one, or in the dream that you do these analysis, although you may not be aware that you're dreaming, that you do these analysis. Okay, so these two things, one of these two things, you must try to somehow make this happen, one of these two things. So to be aware of the dream, when you're dreaming, for that matter, and the one thing which is the technique stated in the text is to always think about dream. This can be like a dream. Why not? How can I say that this is not a dream? Just keep exploring, keep discussing, and then sometimes say even on the walls you just they say write dream, right? And then nowadays if you make the wall dirty like this, okay, so now we have the stickers, the dream sticker, you just put it everywhere, that your mind is just bombarded with, this thought process of dream. Why not this is a dream? Why not this is a dream? You're getting it? So how can I say this is not a dream? You try to give any reason, you will not get a valid reason. I promise. Right? How can I say that this is not a dream? You try to give any reason. The same reason is applicable while you are dreaming also. Which means that reason that you're trying to give to say that this is a waking state is not a valid reason. Because a valid reason should be a reason which is applicable only to the waking state, not to the dream state. But this is equally applicable to the dream also. You're getting it? You try to analyze this, the deeper it goes, then you may get a little disturbed. You may feel a little disturbed, and then if you go to the extent of becoming insane, stop it. Right? Okay, otherwise you may feel a little disturbed mentally. Mentally you may feel a little disturbed, don't worry too much about that, you continue doing this, then the more that affects the deeper, the consciousness, then it can manifest in the dream. In the dream, you will do the same analysis, right? Okay, how can you say that this is not a dream? And then oftentimes you'll be aware that I'm dreaming. oftentimes. Okay. Sometimes interesting. Sometimes how I see that what is happening now is a dream or not dream. How I do that is that I pick up this book and suddenly this book changes into chocolate, a bunch of chocolate, right? I would say now I'm dreaming. In the dream. Okay, now this is dream, I'm dreaming. Okay, so like this, and then there could be many ways, right? Many ways of doing it. And then one time what happened was that, so this is how I try to see whether it's dream or not dream. One time there was one very junior monk who came to seek my help to explain the Acharya Dharmakritis, the initial, the page, the meaning of the first page. So, and that too the commentary by Gyaltsab Rinpoche. And I was reading this commentary, explaining this. Somewhere in the middle, I got stuck. And this is something which is so common, which, right, that we so often, and this is so common. I got stuck. Then I thought, no, I cannot get stuck there. If I get stuck, it is to dream. And actually, it was not a dream. It was how I was interpreting something wrong, right? It is dream. Now I'm dreaming. So this actually was not dream. Okay. So what I'm saying is that there are many ways by which to the more you do this analysis very rigorously, you spend more time on this. In the dream, you will do the same analysis. Generally speaking, right? Not guaranteed, but generally speaking, this will happen even in the dream. You will do the same analysis. And another thing is that, say, if you do not get a good physical rest, then the dream, either you can go into deep sleep where there's no dream, or you dream is just something so weird things can happen in the dream. This is one. Whereas if your mind gets very good, the body gets very good rest. Then in the dream you can do these very meaningful analysis, inquiry, and these things can happen in the dream. Doing the very meaningful analysis can happen. So whereas when you're very tired, generally speaking, it will take you into deep sleep without dream. Okay. And the other one, as I said earlier, just try to be more creative. Say on the walls, everywhere, you just write dream. You talk about dream. You think about dream. Then in the dream, you'll be, you'll do the same analysis. Am I dreaming? Not dreaming? How can I say that this is not dream? Then next time you wake up, wow. In the dream, I was doing this analysis and I could not find any reason to say that this is a dream, right? I could not find any reason to say that this is dream in the dream. Meaning that when you wake up, you reflect, you in retrospect, then you see that I could not find any reason to say that what I was going through was a dream. You're getting it? Then with this again it will go deeper into your subconscious. Then again in the dream it will happen. This will happen more vividly. Okay, with this then the Chitta-Mata philosophy will make a profound sense to you. Profound sense. Right? That in the dream you wake up. In the dream, if you were doing, is this dream or not? No, how can this be dream? Look at this, I don't have that capacity to design all these paintings, the drawings, beautiful drawing of Aratara, and this beautiful paintings. I cannot paint like this. My mind cannot paint like this. Right? Even mentally, I cannot do these things, details. I cannot. So therefore, this is not the dream. For sure, this is not a dream. Then you wake up, you realize that, okay, I thought it was so real. But it was dream. Even now, what is happening now? How can I say that this is not a dream? What reason do I have? I will have no reason. You're getting it? Otherwise, at the moment, if somebody, okay, how many you think that it can be a dream? Or no, it's not a dream. Okay, no, it's not a dream, in a sense. Manjula, is it dream? Not dream? Could be. Okay, anyone else? No, it can't be dream. Mandela, don't joke. Raise your hands. No, it's not a dream. It's not a dream. Raise your hands. Okay. So it just, as I said earlier, try this, and then if you get it meaning that in the dream, if you do this analysis, and then you come to conclusion in the dream, you came to the conclusion that this is not a dream. You wake up, your conclusion, you realize that your conclusion in the dream was wrong. Which means that in the waking state also, what is happening now, how can I say that it's not a dream? Then you see that Chittamatra philosophy is so profound. You're getting it? Okay. The last stanza, page 61, last stanza. Middle way. Where is the example for this mind? This mind to exist intrinsically and no external objects. What example do you have? If you say like a dream, in dream there's a dreaming mind, but the content of the dream, the objects are not really there as external. Right? We see things as external in the dream, but nothing of externality exists. Nothing of externality that you dreamt exists as external. It's just your dreaming mind. The mind exists intrinsically, and the objects do not exist externally. So it's like a dream. Then Acharya Chandrakirti says, do reflect upon this point. Do reflect upon this point well. How? For me, such a mind does not exist even in a dream. Such an intrinsic mind that the mind exists as intrinsically does not exist even in a dream. Therefore, this example of yours remain unacceptable. How unacceptable? If such a mind exists, if such an intrinsic mind exists, because one remembers. If I ask the Chittamatra, how can you say that in the dream, now both of us, me as the Chittamatra, advocate of Chittamatra philosophy, and you as a Prasangika, we now discuss about my dream, last night's dream. So I said that the dream of the last night, that is an example of a mind existing intrinsically and with the absence of externality. So you know that what I dreamt of, that thinking about something in a classroom, so weird. It never happened before. Somebody put the alarm? For sure somebody did. Maybe somebody out of curiosity just checked it. Okay, no mind. That curiosity is precious. Okay. Okay. Now, they say coming out of the dream, having some discussion, inquiry that was happening in the dream in a classroom. That dream classroom, I would say that you are Prasanga and I am the Chittamatra. That dream classroom, as a real external classroom does not exist. And you will say yes. But the dreaming mind, you can remember it now. The dreaming mind, you can remember it. Yes, I dreamt. I had this, the mind which dreamt. The dream mind you remember. That is the mind which exists real, but the content did not exist as external or did not exist real. It's just what your mind made up. This is the intrinsic mind in the absence of the externality. This is how the Chittamatas would convince the Prasangika. If such a mind exists because one remembers the dream when awakened, this is true also for external objects. Not only that you remember that you dreamt, you also remember what was dreamt. Right? Not only you remember the subject, you also remember the object. Yes, I dreamt of say in the class, I dreamt of being in a classroom. You also remember the dream classroom. So therefore the object, not only the subject remembered, also the object is remembered. So likewise, what we see waking state, like the dreaming mind, and what is dreamt, both are there. We can remember both. For just as you remember, I saw, such a recollection exists also for external objects. Say when you wake up, okay, yesterday I came from Chennai, so I was on the aeroplane. External object, I came from outside, now I'm inside the house, right? So this, not only I remember my mind which went through these experiences, I could also remember them that I came from outside, now I'm entering this hall. So outside, inside, external, internal, everything's there. I remember both, not only the internal, also remember the external. Reference number 440. The example of a dream does not establish the non-existence of external objects when awake. Okay, you may suppose that since during sleep, visual cognition is not possible, it's mental consciousness alone with no external object that exists. Okay, say when you, so now in the waking state, you Prasangika, I'm Chittamatra, we're talking about the dream. So in the dream, last night's dream, you may suppose that I'm supposing that since during sleep, last night's sleep, visual cognition is not possible. In the sleep, I do not have the visual cognition. But what was seen in the dream, they were all seen by the mental consciousness. It's mental consciousness alone with no external objects in the dream that exists. This is the reality. And it is the aspect of this that I clung to as external reality. So what I do is that in the dream, while there's no external aeroplane there, so I clung to that external, the dream aeroplane as real external aeroplane. So this is how in the waking state we cling to things as external. Actually there's nothing really there's external. So here in the waking life too, this is exactly as in the case of a dream, right? Okay, say we see things as external, and how can you say that what you say is external is correct? How can you say that your perception of externality is valid? We have no reason. We are left with no valid reason. At the most, you can say that I remember somebody, young boy, that's many years ago, in my monastery, in Jagannath monastery. I said, there's nothing that's external. Then the boy was hitting it with, hitting with his hands like this. This external. This is, right? Okay. So, when you say like this, in the dream also you will do the same thing. In the dream, you dream of me and saying that there's no, this is your dream. You will say, is this dream? You do like this. Same. So this does not, we think that this is a very strong reason to prove the externality, but the same reason is applicable in the dream. In the dream as well, you do the same. You will say that is this dream, is this dream, is this dream, is this dream, this one, is this dream. No, you can hear the sound. You will do the same thing in the dream. Okay. So therefore, what we see as external, this is all deceptive. One. Then so this is more like in the form of the example. In the form of example. Now, what we did last time, I do remember that we did a little bit about to convince how the Chittamatra philosophy holds true, right? Pertaining to, for example, say when we look at this, when we look at the flower, when we look at this flower, right? Okay, what's in my hand? You will say there's a flower there. Everybody will say the same thing. So one thing is that, but this is coming from your mind. It's just coming from your projection of mind. The first and the most common argument against this is that then why we are all seeing the same thing. This is the most common argument. This is very easy, right? This most common argument, but the answer must be convincingly given. For example, let's say we are all putting on a blue glass, and we look at this white light there. You will see this blue. Is it that there's the blue light there? No, but we are all commonly seeing this white. We are all simply seeing it. We're commonly seeing the same thing. Why? Because we are using the same lens, same blue lens, right? Okay, if this is the reason, then we are all seeing this a flower because we are looking at through the lens of our same karma, same karmic lens. With the same karmic lens, right? That makes us see, although there's no external flower there, we are seeing this external flower because why we are all seeing the same thing? Because we are looking at it through the same lens created by the common karma. You getting it? Okay. Once this answer is given, okay, that question is gone. So now what other reasons do we have to say that there still exists external flower? Okay, so with this what we do is that when we look at this flower, finally we come to know that it has to do with to say that this flower, my eye sense consciousness is involved. My eye sense consciousness depends on the eye lens, eye sense power, and the eye lens. And the eye lens, depending on what lens you use, to that extent you will see the object. So the eye lens, if they are like, say, total like 40, 50, 100, 200, 1,000 people, we all have, our eye lenses are not identical. So therefore we are bound to see the same object differently. Now, all these 1,000 different objects, do they exist on the object? No, there's only one object there, not 1,000 different objects there. So which of the perceptions is correct? If I say mine one is correct, somebody says no, mine one is correct. If yours one is correct, so mine one is wrong then, right? So from this what we see is that, from this what we slowly discover is that what I'm seeing is just a perception. You getting it? No doubt what I'm seeing is just a perception. Beyond the perception, something is there, not there, this is question. You're getting it? This question. But what I am seeing, what I'm experiencing is just a perception. That's for sure. This is one discovery, or this one the revelation that should happen to us. That's so important. Before we even understand Chaitamatra philosophy, this must be something, what is happening is just a perception. This realization must come to us. This is so important. Before we get to even to Chaitamatra philosophy, this is so important. Okay, with this, for example, with a simple example of, with a simple reasoning of what makes us to see things as like this, like that, and so forth, it all depends on my eye sense power, eye lens. And eye lenses, they are not identical with all of us. In a way, we are not seeing the same common thing, right? Although we talk on very gross level, we talk that we see. For example, they say that, okay, what is this? Some people may say that this is white chocolate. Some people may say, oh, there's a white moon there, small mini moon there. Some people may say there's a lid there. Some people may say that there's the picture of a lid there. All these different perceptions are there, but still you can while you are seeing this differently, but you can, if my focus is that I want something, I want any object, you will say that is in your hand, right? You will all agree there's an object there. You getting it? But what you see, what that object, if you go to detail, what you are seeing, what A is seeing is different, what B is seeing is different, C is seeing is different. Although we say that there's a flower there, because flower is where we talk, and beyond this we don't talk. The size, right? Precisely what size, precisely what color, we don't go into that precision. On the gross level, we all talk the same thing. When you go into a little more precise, what's the size, right? And if you put on a magnifying glass, you will see the huge size. If you put on the, say, concave lens, right? Concave or convex? Okay, if there the ophthalmologist or optician, okay, let's say concave. You put on a concave lens, then you see is a small. Your convex lens you see is a big. Okay, I'm not sure whether it's correct or not right. So, but the variation happens, which means that what we're saying is just your perception. This variation is not on the object. Variation is the subject. So from this we come to realize that what I'm experiencing is through this subject. It's just a subject. It's just a perception, right? This is one thing that we must come to get experientially, not just intellectually. Experientially, you must reach minimum that level. And then from there, it will take us to Chittamatra philosophy, to Svatana Madhyama philosophy, Prasanga philosophy. Okay, and then particularly when you reach to Prasanga philosophy, after getting some the understanding of Chittamatra, Svatana Madhyamika, then when you still see some loopholes there, it will take us to Prasangika. Okay, tea break. Okay, no tea break. So when?
Till 12:30 plus.
Okay, till 12:30. Then when is the
Lunch then.
12:30 lunch.
when is talk offering?
1:30.
1:30. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, reference number 440. Second, the example of a dream does not establish non-existence of external objects when awake. You may suppose that since during sleep visual cognition is not possible, it's mental consciousness alone with no external objects that exist, and it is the aspects of this, meaning that what appearance coming to the subject, aspects of this appearance coming to the subject that are clung to as external. Actually, it's that appearance, but we think that this is external. This is how it happens in a dream. So here in the waking life too, this is exactly as in the case of the dream. In the waking state also, what we are seeing is just appearance, aspect or the appearance happening. This appearance happening on the mind. This we are being deceived to see as external. Okay, just as according to you, no external realities are born in a dream. Okay, now this is Prasanga saying that just as, say, for you, in the dream there is no external, likewise, now Acharya, likewise, no mental consciousness is born objectively as well. From my point of view, not only the external is not there in the dream, even the mind does not exist objectively or intrinsically. So, in the dream, eyes, the objects and mind engendered by them. Eyes, eye consciousness, eye sense power. Eyes here refers to the eye sense power. And the object, the dream object. And then you think that, oh, now I'm seeing the flower. In the dream, the mind engendered by these two, all these three factors of the perception are false. Okay, so this in the dream is false. Likewise, in waking state, these three are false. The three factors of the remainder, not only with the eyes, now with the nose. Remainder here meaning the nose, ear, tongue, body. The remaining four, the three factors of the remainder, such as ears, too have no objective is. All three factors, what? Sense power, object, and the corresponding consciousness. All these three with respect to the nose, ears, tongue, body, they have no objective arising. Okay. Then the Acharya Chandrakirti style, keep in mind that again, how not? They are not, but then how not? All this will be explained in the following stanzas. Reference 441. The example of a dream establishes all things as false. Just as in a dream, here too in the waking state, all entities are false. Meaning, all entities, meaning whatever we see here, all what with ordinary beings, our experiences, they're all false. All entities are false, so such a mind does not exist, including the mind. Not only the objects which we are seeing, which we are experiencing, even the mind does not exist intrinsically. It exists falsely. It exists deceptively. It exists conventionally. No objects of experience exists, nor the senses themselves. So here, just as in the case of a waking life, until one is not awakened, so long the three factors of a dream exist. Okay, now, As long as you are not woken up from the dream, in the dream, what you see as the object, the sense power, and the consciousness, all three are real as long as you're in the dream. And the moment you wake up, all three are seen as faulty. As long as we're in the dream of illusion, in the dream of ignorance, we see what we see, object, the sense power, and the sense consciousness, all are seen as real. The moment we wake up from the sleep of ignorance, you realize all three are, even these three things, what we're seeing now, what we're hearing, sense power, and the consciousness, they're all deceptive, right? Not only, so only when will you realize that the three things within the dream, they are faulty? When will you realize that? When you wake up. Likewise, the three things within the waking state, when will we realize that they are defective, they are faulty? When will we realize that? When we wake up from the sleep of ignorance. Okay, this is so important. So here, just as in the case of waking life, until one is not awoken, so long the three factors of a dream exist, yet once awoken, these three do not exist. This is true for those awakened from the sleep of delusion, from the sleep of ignorance. Okay, so ignorance, some people translate it as delusions oftentimes. Delusions, this also, keep this in mind. People translate delusion and ignorance, these two as interchangeable. Okay, reference number 442, refuting the example of seeing the falling hair. Okay, the cognition of the one who has cataracts or the defective eyes, who through the power of the cataract sees falling hair, from that perspective, both perceived hair and its cognition are real. With respect to the person who is suffering from this eye defective eye, for them, what is seen and the seen and the seer, both are seen as real for that person. Both are real for that person. Yet to the one who sees the facts clearly, one who sees the reality clearly with the proper eyesight, both are faulty. Yet to the one who sees the facts clearly, both of these are false. Okay. If cognition exists objectively without external cognizable object, then even a person, okay, now this we are going to a little technical part. Okay, now I'll say how this is faulty. So the Acharya Chandrakirti is now trying to convince point by point, one to the other. If, for example, let's say, if I say that there is no true production because there is no production from the self, from both, from another, from both, and causeless production. Okay, when I say this, I gave the reasoning of the four rejections as the reasoning to prove there's no intrinsic production. Okay, now you will say that I don't agree with the reason that you give. Now I have to prove the reason. I have to give reasons to prove the reason to be valid. So now what I say that I ask you which of the four rejections you do not agree with me. You say that I don't agree with you, the rejection number 2, production from another. So now I will put the say empty of production from another as the main thesis now. Main thesis, because unless I prove this, I cannot convince you of the reason which I employ to prove the main thesis. So the reason becomes the thesis, the second thesis. Again, for that matter, again I give you a third reason. Again, this reason you may disagree with me. Again, it becomes a thesis for me. You're getting it? Thesis. I give the fourth reason. This is how we have to go. This is Acharya Chandrakirti's style here. Here, it's not that he just give a reason and then you will accept or not, then he leaves you there. No. He first gives the reason, then again he brings this up as a thesis to give us further reasons. Okay. This is a little technical now. If cognition exists objectively without external cognizable objects. Okay, now we have to pay a little more attention here. So what I would say is that when things become a little technical, don't just give up easily. Particularly, say in the class and even those who are listening to the live stream or to the recordings, while you are listening, just make sure that you pay full attention. Pay full attention. If possible, make some notes. And then you think that is too technical, don't give up. Just listen to this and make notes. Sometimes they are easy. There are two problems. One is that I know this already, and then you just don't pay any attention to this. Don't even make notes. This is one extreme. Other extreme is it's too difficult. It's not for me. Okay, I stop. Then you close the book and then you shut down the listening. Okay, these are two extremes. Never do that. Even if it is easy, still pay attention. Even if it is very even though it seems to be so technical, oftentimes how they become technical is one reason is that you did not pay attention to the earlier things. You think that they are very, very easy, and then these things are accumulated. Accumulation happens, and then suddenly the conclusion is thrown to us, and then because the ground is missing, the building blocks are missing, and then suddenly you see that what is this? I'm not understanding anything now, right? This is not at all difficult. It's just like a cumulative effect. Bricks, individual bricks are nothing. Individual bricks are they're all just identical. Oh, I know this brick, I know this brick, I know this brick. They're all identical, right? When the bricks, if you don't ignore the bricks, if you keep putting the bricks properly, slowly you will see a beautiful stupa coming out. None of the brick is a stupa. How come that you have a beautiful stupa? I only had the bricks, right? Because you ignore the bricks. Somebody is counting on every brick, right? And then suddenly the person sees stupa there, beautiful stupa there. Likewise, oftentimes, the thing is that we tend to just underestimate the points which seem to be, when on the spot you are there, when things are explained, it sounds so easy, then you underestimate them to be, and then you just neglect them. And then suddenly you end up that, now I cannot catch up. This is one thing. And then there could be another category, whose faculty may not be as sharp. We have to acknowledge, we have to admit all categories. Some people who have a sharp faculty, and simply because they underestimate all this, I know this, very easy, then suddenly conclusions comes, building blocks are missing, the person cannot come with conclusion. So the persons get lost. And in some cases, the person may be so serious with every brick, but then even then cannot put them properly to make a beautiful stupa. If this is who you are, which means that the faculty in terms of the intelligence and if this is the problem, then your job is to continue to pay attention. Even somebody having a sharp faculty or sharp intelligence, even that is dependent originated. How that person becomes a sharp intelligence, have the sharp intelligence, and why not me, is simply because that this person in the past, person were already used to some form of intellectual inquiry exercises for a prolonged period of time, right? And particularly, and it's not necessary that the person should have done it only pertaining to the Buddhist philosophy, not necessary. Even if somebody did it pertaining to the Western philosophy, even that person, if the Acharya Chandrakirti's text is taught, the person can understand easily. And even if somebody is exposed to philosophy, physics, mathematics, physics, then if you are taught the Acharya Chandrakirti's text, they can understand it easily. Okay, so the point is that this faculty of intelligence must be activated. And what we do now, this is the best way by which to increase the capacity and increase the sharpness of your faculty, one, and then increase the sharpness of faculty with the content, with the beautiful content. right? In some case, for example, some people, they, in order to maintain this sharpness, rigor of the mind, they do these, chess and the manjang, all these things. There the subject matter is zero. In sharpness is built. Sharpness activity of the mind is built, but the subject matter is zero. There's nothing really there, right? No, the subject matter is zero. Whereas what we're doing here, sharpness is built plus subject matter is so precious. Both are happening together. Okay. In fact, recently I got somebody reported husband and wife, and the husband is doing the London Master's course, and the wife is not doing it. I know the wife so well. I met the wife, and the wife is so keen that she eventually will expose her children to this Nalanda studies. Why? She said that this study 100% it will make the person more sharp. The lady said it to me. Lady said it. I said, what makes you to say this? She said that her husband, initially before the husband did this course, she has to teach from A to Z. When you go for an interview, you say like this. If a person asks like this, you have to say like this. And even that, the husband cannot convey fully, utilize it fully. Again, made some mistake. So the wife said that I had to teach every single thing for the husband to get a job, for the job interview. Now, after this London Master's course for like 2 years, now he's teaching me. Right? He has become so intelligent. So whatever I say, somehow he can pick some mistakes there, saying that no, you should like thing like this is a contradiction like this. He has become so sharp. This is what she said. I was so impressed, so happy. You're getting it? So therefore, say this process, even if you're thinking, the fastness, the quality of thinking is not that good as others, as maybe some 1, 2, 3 like this. Let us not compare with others. Compare with yourself. Your job is not neglect to study this. Continue studying this. Finally, your job is not that. Okay, I'm better than this person. This is not a job. Your job is to get rid of your suffering, to acquire the maximum happiness. This is your job, right? You join this London Master's course, not with the intention that, okay, with this London Master's course, how many participants are there? Then I will, okay, if it was only one participant, then I will not join it because I want to outshine others, right? If they are like say 300, 400, 500, 500, then I'll join it so that I can outshine them. If this is your purpose, I'm guaranteed that this is not how you join this course. So don't compare with other people. Seek help of the others. Don't compare with other people, right? Your job is just to continue to study this, and meanwhile, the sharpness of intelligence is guaranteed happening, right? This is guaranteed happening, number one. And then on top of that, the beautiful part of this is that the content matter is so precious, which most likelihood we have never met with this content matter for all these innumerable infinite lifetimes in the past. Today we met with this beautiful content matter of Ajahn Chah, this text. So what we do is that we just continue studying this, and then if possible try to make notes, and once in a while, and somebody again yesterday or two days ago, somebody says, yes, I always make notes, and then on the metro when I go, I always carry this notebook with me. I just open the book, I read the notes. Wow, it's very inspiring to hear this. Okay. Okay, we'll read this, then we'll stop here. Page 63, reference number 442, the second paragraph. If cognition exists objectively without external cognizable object, then even a person who has no cataracts that give rise to falling hair and its sides, they would have such cognition of hair. Okay, this is not so, therefore it does not exist. So now the point is that, okay, on the first Chittamatra standpoint, saying that if cognition exists, cognition meaning the subject, the mind which cognizes. Because this word cognition, the cognition, again keep in mind, that is a very ambiguous word. Cognition, view, and so forth, these are very ambiguous words. It involves the object, what is cognized, what cognized, what is cognized, and the act of cognition. All three are conveyed by the same word. It can refer to any of these three. So therefore, the better would be if cognition exists, meaning if the cognizer exists, this is not wrong, but to avoid the ambiguity. If the cognizer exists objectively without the external cognizable object, it becomes very clear now. If the subject exists independent, if the subject exists without the external objects, meaning that there's no, in other words, to make it very simple, Chittamatra is saying there's no external reality. There's nothing external there. What's really there is just the cognizer, the mind. Okay, if this is your standpoint, then Acharya Chandrakirti is saying that then even for a person who has no cataracts, say one person say I have the cataract and I'm seeing hairs falling, let's say hairs falling, and you are with a proper eyesight, right? So for me, so Chittamatra would take what is happening to me as the example of no external reality. There's no hairs there, but what is really happening is just the subject, the perceiver, the mind perceiving the hairs falling, that exists without actually the hairs falling there. This is the Chittamatra taking me as the example of to convince a philosophy to Prasangika. And now there is the Logeshi here who has a proper eyesight, right? Now what you are saying is that even without the externality, if I can see something, right? Even without externality, if I can see something, then why not Logeshi is also seeing the hairs falling, right? It does not require the external, because for you there's nothing really externally is there, and still some people could see something. Then why not somebody with the proper eyesight could see the hairs falling? Okay, what is your example? What is your reason? What reason would you say if you're Chittamatra? What reason would you say? Then so in the case of Logeshi, there's no imprint getting activated, and to somebody like me who having the eye defects, so I have this. In my case, the imprint is activated. This is the answer given. So that is rejected later on. You getting it? So every time what we do is that Acharya Chandrakirti, this text, this is particular, this is so special. It will take us in a manner of, say, the improvising our intelligence and refining the concepts. Two things. Improving our intelligence, sharpening our intelligence gradually, plus refining our concepts. Both are happening. This is Acharya Chandrakirti's style of composition. Okay. So it says, if cognition exists objectively without external cognizable objects, then even a person who has no cataracts, Logeshi, who has no cataract, that gives rise to falling hair. There is no cataract which can give rise to hair falling and so forth. That's not happening in him. They would have such cognitions of hair. He should also see the hairs falling. This is not so, but the reality is, it is not so. That for him to see the hairs falling, there should be the hair. Somebody who has proper eyesight, for him or her to see the hairs falling, there should be actually hairs falling externally. You're getting it? For the defective eyes, even without the hairs falling, you can still see it. But for somebody with a proper eyesight, if to see the hairs falling, there should be external hairs falling. You're getting it? Okay. So therefore, for him, why he's not seeing the hairs falling? Because there is no external hairs falling. You're getting it? Because there is no external hairs falling. And then why he's seeing is because of the activation, the imprint. So the activation imprint is not happening because of there's no external factor there. You're getting it? This is Acharya Chandra, this challenge. Okay. This also, therefore, it does not exist. It does not exist means, therefore, it does not exist. It, referring to objectively existent mind, independent of the externality, such a mind does not exist. Okay. Now the following arguments are there. Arguments are not complete here. Right? Not complete here. Okay, we'll stop here. Yes, Densula.
Just a quick question. This is pertaining to your point about thinking of everything being dreamlike. In some of the prayers, like for example, 8 verses of mind training, or the 14th verse in praises to Buddha Shakyamuni, when we think about things as dreamlike versus illusion-like, experientially, is there some nuance that we should think about?
No, I could not follow what you say. Say it again.
The last verse of 8 verses of mind training seeds illusion-like, and then a dream, a star, a visual aberration, flame of a lamp. Now, some of them, the distinction is quite clear. I'm talking about experientially trying to keep seeing things, even in waking life, as a dream. So, is there a distinction between seeing things as dreamlike and illusion-like, just when we are trying to do this or not in our waking moments?
Okay, so so one is seeing things as illusion, another seeing things as illusion-like, right? For example, this discussion, whether what is happening now is this dream or not. I did not ask you whether it is dream-like. You're getting it? Okay. Finally, the final conclusion is that everything is dream-like, not dream. You're getting it? But we have to grow intellectually and experientially. For experiential purpose, these things we have to do. Don't just leave on the intellectual, right? Don't just leave things on the intellectual understanding. Intellectual understanding is so precious. Without the intellectual understanding, there's no basis for us to go to the experiential, right? Intellectual part is so precious. Okay. For somebody to do PhD in physics, how important is for that child to study ABC? To do PhD in physics in English, right? And to do how important for this child to learn the 1 + 1, 1 + 2, 1 + 3, 2 × 2 are 4, 2 × 3 are 6. How important is that? It has nothing to do with the quantum physics, right? A, B, C, D. A for apple, B for ball. What's C for? Cat. D for dog. E for. It has nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with the quantum physics. But we have to study this, right? Oh, what is this? It's nothing to do with quantum physics. You will never say become good in quantum physics. Likewise, mathematics. 2 × 2 are 4. In quantum physics, no way you will see 2 × 2 are 4. Right? But without this, you can never, ever understand quantum physics. So therefore, intellectual understanding is so precious. But those people who are already into this, who are very lucky, our job is not to remain complacent with, okay, I'm the lucky one. We get the opportunity to study this text, beautiful text, so precious text. Yes, I'm so lucky studying this. Yes, I know this. Then say you discuss with your friends these things. Very good. That's very good. But meanwhile, don't remain complacent. And some people will say that, what's the use of this? This is totally wrong. It's so precious. Yet, what I would say is that don't remain complacent, meaning that don't feel satisfied by this. This is so precious. Gade, oh, now I already reached Gade, then you rest. Don't rest. There's a Paragade there. There's Parasangade there. There's a Bodhiswaha there. Then you have the experiential part. For the experiential part, the staircase is intellectual understanding. Right? So for those people, without the intellectual, we must encourage a person to go into the intellectual. This is so precious. For that person, more important than the experience is the intellectual. This is the most precious thing. For a child, age 4, 5, 6, for us to teach Confucius directly, and teaching 2 into 2 is 4, 2 into 3 is 6, that is more precious for that person, for that young child. Right? Once that is already learned, then not to remain complacent, then try to translate this into experience. That is important. For that matter, say for example the tips like what I shared with you in the class, that how can I say that this is not a dream, right? What reasons do you have? Let others give the reason. You also try to give the reason, and then see that whether or not these reasons are applicable while you are in the dream, right? Okay, this is not dream because of A, B, C. In the dream also you will say the same thing. This is not dream because of A, B, C. Which means the reason that you gave when you are in the waking state, these reasons remain invalid. Because the reason, if this valid reason, it should be applicable only to the waking state, not to the dream state. So then you start to have a very profound experiential doubt, experiential apprehension that, oh, this can be a dream. Then this all comes, then the experience, what we are studying, experience has started to dawn in you, right? The dawn of the experience has started. Then you have to take it deeper, deeper, deeper. Okay, we'll stop here. Who is doing the dedication prayer? Yeah.
Let's turn to page number 278. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful, gentle Tekten Yatso, please remain until samsara ends. Kari Ravi Gurve Shingamzu, Pandandewa Madu Jumbene, Jete Sima Tekten Yatso, Shape Site Padu Den Yurushi. Just as the great Manjushri and Samantabhadra are true, realizing as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. Jambal Baba Shidar Jambada, Gundu Sambo Deyan Dejende, Deda Gungi Jesu Dalushi, Kewa Deda Tamjera Dumo. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praise of the best, by the victorious ones, thus one of the 3 times, so that I may perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Gyawa damji ge ngowa khana chodo nga bade, dagi gewe zawa digun gyan, zambo jeje rado ngowa raiki. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Chanju Zenjo Rinpoche, Maya Panam Gyuroche, Gyavanyamba Mebaya, Kone Kondo Pevarejo. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel mysteries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I could attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into the enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization that deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of the teaching and realization.
May I in all life through the force of this merit never separate from the four wheels of the minor vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect will, and the stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I jump the mind to full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the triple gem, I confess the negativities individually, I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings, I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. The path of the union of emptiness and compassion is loosely explained by the protector of the Buddha, Dharma, and the beings of the snow land. You are the lotus soul that Tenzin Gyatso, we supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. Onye Nyeje Zundo Jobe Lam, Cheje Seze Kanje Tenje Chana Pemo Tenzin Gyatso La, So Adabso Shendo Nandro Sho. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who hereby manage through perverted praise against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally replenished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. Molam lobe gyava damba najo sojen sume de samjo nyembe joba maluba chozun dembe zene gyuruji. In all my lives, never separated from the perfect Gurus, may enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stations and the paths, may truly attain the state of Vajratara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by the elementary stream and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on the dependent origination in particular, even in the course of my life.